Hey y'all, it's me again, Joey.
Well, ready to let them loose?
Yep, that's it. Let's see if they make us run.
Oh,
Probably so.
yeah, that one tried to get after him, but other than that, what can you expect? I mean, can you blame them? Oh yeah, they're getting after us now. Go, Joey, go!
Hey man!
Hey, man, buddy. I'm gonna get in the truck. You gotta go back and get your camera.
But also, just get as many as you can off the one next to it. Out.
You gotta move away.
Do that side again. Y'all ready? Let's get started. Well, here we are. Hey, Mr. JW, how you doing?
I'm good, Sandy. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna go ahead and pin this. Go ahead and pin this link up. Let's see. All right, it ought to be there. Yeah, I was gonna wait, but it looks like they're gonna be going for a while. I said I'll just come on over here and see what happens over here. Everybody in the chat doing good?
Looks like they are. Hey, Tom, DC, Roy, Jonathan. Calling for Philip Morris. Get your little old flat hat on, Philip, and come on down.
I don't know who that was. Just deleted it.
Hey, Nancy.
I got the link pinned if anybody else wants to come in with us.
Yeah.
There's Tom. Hey, Tom.
Hey, JW.
How you?
Doing good. Getting flooded.
Yeah.
Thank you, DC.
Tons of rain.
Yeah, you're just down the road from me, so it's what's falling from me is coming your way. So we got a bunch of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm only supposed to get about 2 inches, but people just south of me in Kentucky are supposed to get like 4 to 5 inches.
Yeah, well, same way here.
Yeah.
It's rained. Oh, started about 10, 11 o'clock last night and rained off and on here all day and warmed up and got so foggy you couldn't see your hand in front of your face hardly. But it's
Yeah.
I don't know.
Here's Todd. Steven. They're jumping on.
Yeah, they're coming in. Yeah, I had just got mine set up, and about 10 minutes after I did, that's my camera turning off. Thought I already had it turned off. As soon as I did, came and posted his. I said, well.
Yeah, he's just doing questions and answers.
Yeah, I was going to watch it, but after I got to listen, I said, I'll just come on over here, see what y'all doing.
Yeah, like I said, everyone on the streams had Blake in the last day or two.
Oh, have they?
You know, yeah. Greg
I
Burns.
spent the day in the barn cleaning an area and putting shelves up so I can organize my barn a little bit more with all the bee stuff. Instead of it sitting all over the floor everywhere.
That's my
I don't
problem.
know, Uncle Harvey.
I didn't even. Whoa, I hit the wrong button there, Tom. Sorry about that.
I was going to say, you killed me. That's all right.
Uh.
You recovered me quick.
Hey, Castle. Hey, Keith. I,
There's Keith.
Lord, I got
Half track,
nothing. You know,
half track, Keith.
I come home from that bee conference Sunday. After St. Louis, come home Sunday night, and Monday morning the weather was pretty decent here, and I broke into a bunch of hives again. And I didn't go down into them, but took the tops off of them. Man, they're going through feed. I put on all my candy board, and the biggest part of my fund at Monday, so I started making candy boards again. I'll see what this weather's going to do. I'll probably end up maybe keeping some of it over the summer, but they keep good for me. So
Yeah. I peeked in my hives today. In between, there was a couple hours, but it wasn't raining.
yeah,
About 40 degrees out, 41. And I just popped the lid off to check if they had food close to them versus the edge. Pushed it into the center. One of them actually gave them a pollen patty to get them going. Hey, James,
I peeked in some bees today, but it wasn't.
Brian. So,
I saw. I was watching some kind of little live weather thing on YouTube earlier, and I saw where it looked like Arkansas had a possible tornado touchdown just a little while ago.
yeah, I think there's been a few of them, Joey, across Arkansas all the way up to Kentucky, through that region, from the storm that's coming through. We're not supposed to get anything like that, just rain.
Yeah, I think that's all we got. I pulled my slides in on my RV just in case the wind does blow some.
Right.
It won't hurt the slides, but I got those covers on top, those roll-up covers on top of them. They'll get the flapping in the wind. It's an awning is all it
I
is.
got you. Right.
Is Philip still in here? He was up there earlier.
yeah, we're supposed to get some pretty good cold weather. Couple nights next week, they're supposed to be in the sub-zeros. Let's see.
Yeah, same thing, JW. About 5 days where it's not going to get above 25 degrees,
Yeah.
30 degrees. That's
Well,
for the
that may not
highs.
all be bad if we got our bees, pretty waterproof and so forth. That may not all be bad. I tell you, this 61 day and 20 the next is where it's hard on. My bees
Right.
are really going through the food. I mean, big time. I've been through some of my highs and went through 5 pounds of sugar already.
Well, I think they all got brood in them now, JW. So they're eating up the food. That's why I got into them today, because tomorrow we're supposed to be cold and snowy, the backside of the storm, and it's the last day until next Sunday probably. I could even have a chance to get into the bees. So I wanted to make sure they had plenty of food.
Yeah, I haven't
Hey,
been
Bob.
down to any of 'em. I haven't been down to any of mine to see if I had brood or not. But sure, my hives are all strong according to the bees that's up on top. So
Well, I know in past
my
years by this time of year,
may be totally.
I got brood.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot, but a little bit.
I saw a question somebody had asked, and now I don't see it. Oh, I don't know who he's asking. I don't know who Ryan Hall is.
No, he's up there in the northeast, and then that boy from up there in northern Pennsylvania. maybe Vermont even. He comes on Charlie once in a while, and that the young. He's not no kid, but he's a kid compared to me. And he up there and comes on Charlie's on Friday night there. Tom, you know who we're talking about?
I don't know if he heard you.
Apparently not.
What's that? I was reading comments, I think.
Oh, that Ryan Hall there is he's the weather guy on it.
Oh, okay. He must have
The
been
YouTube
asking.
weather guy that's on all the time. Him and that other guy, that high velocity or whatever it is.
Yep, that was it. High velocity.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
it. It just
okay.
happened to pop up, and I was looking at it. I didn't
I
know
don't
it
pay
was-
much attention to it because in Southwest Ohio, it changes every other day.
Yeah. That hall is
They
in
don't have
Kentucky, about
they don't have a clue.
I think is where he's located at. Tom, I think he's down in there around Moorhead or over towards Ashland, Kentucky.
Okay.
I think it's where that
bit
Ryan
of
Hall lives and broadcast from.
Hey,
I don't
Steve.
know
A little bit south and east of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably about 3 hours drive to get down to that part of Asheville area. I mean,
Oh yeah, I imagine from
Kentucky.
it's about an hour and a half west of, or east of
Yeah.
Lexington there on 64.
Right.
Ashton, Kentucky's right over on the West Virginia line.
Yeah, I used to get over in that neck of the woods, but not in the last 15 years.
Yeah, I used to run over there for Ashton Oil's headquarters over in Ashton, Kentucky. So I used to do some work for them years ago. That's been 40 years, 50 years.
Gotcha.
That's
I used to do automation or slash controls for the natural gas plants all in that region.
Yeah, around Ashton there. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful country.
Yep. I just never could figure out how to make a living down that part of the world.
Yeah, a little bit different.
Yeah, every place is different. Yeah.
I've never been able to make a living anywhere.
Yeah. Hey, Tim and Hannah.
I'd always write home, tell them send more money. This job's going to last longer than I thought it would.
Send more money.
Genline, are y'all back home?
Doubt it.
Oh, nay.
There he is. I was just about to text you, man.
I when JW says jump, I say how high,
Yep, I hear you.
as soon as he told me to get on there, I reached and slid it over. And when I did, I dumped a full glass of milk on my dog, on the couch, on the floor.
You didn't jump high enough.
So I had a little delay there.
I bet the dog tried to help you clean it up.
He was sitting here. He likes to eat carrots, so I'll snap off and give them to him, and he's sitting there begging for carrots. And when I poured that milk on him, he took off. He thought I was mad at him. I had to wipe him down too.
Okay.
Hannah says they're just getting home, Joey, from
Yeah.
over at Lee's.
We're just about to pull in the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
My youngest son, when he was still at home, we used to text him, say, where you at? He's just about to turn in the driveway. It didn't matter if he was 20 miles from the house. That was his response.
Yep.
Eamon's got Blake Shook on. I got him up, put him the TV on silent.
Yeah. You know what? Greg Burns had Bob Benny on earlier today. Bob Benny stated that there's a bees collapse every about 18 to 20 years. And he says it goes all the way back, records all the way back to the 1800s, where it shows every 20 years. So I talked to my friend, he's a third generation beekeeper, and he goes, "Yep, that's about right." So, and they never have known why either. It's just part of Mother Nature.
Well, that's kind of, we was talking out there at the conference, that's kind of some of my thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some cycle happened that we don't understand yet. That happens every 18, 20 years.
There's only 395 people watching Cayman. You're catching up to him fast, Joey.
Yeah.
You got 42.
One day I'll be that popular. I hope not. Too much pressure.
Yeah, me either, Joe. I don't want to be that popular either. This is it. A little bit on YouTube.
What's that? Who was it? It wrote Tom Sawyer, Samuel Clemens. What was his name?
Oh,
What was his pen name?
yeah, that dude.
Yeah. Anyway, he said he didn't particularly like millionaires, but it would be dangerous to offer him the position.
Yeah. We got JW up there. He understands that. This.
That back then, a million was a lot of money, but it's not anymore.
You talking about Mark Twain? That's it.
Yep, Mark Twain. Yeah, we got a lot of people.
Yeah,
a lot of
Mark
smart
Twain.
people. See, we got the smartest audience on the internet right there.
That used to be the only books I checked out in the library.
Was it?
I had them memorized so I could write my report.
Yeah, I think everybody's done a report.
That's Samuel Clemens, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yeah, Samuel Clarence.
Yeah.
Mr. JW said he knew him before he changed his name.
I did, I think.
Our weather's going to get down to like 32 tonight. It was 70
That's pretty chilly.
earlier.
We got up to about 47 this afternoon, pouring down rain and foggy, like, it was supposed to be snowing by in the morning, but I think it's going to be a little bit north of us.
Yeah, it's already dropping.
Yeah.
It's already down to 44 here, and it was right before the sun went down. It had dropped like 12 degrees in like 30 minutes. So it's
We get that tomorrow. You get the rain today. Cold starts tomorrow. And by Thursday, I think it's going down to 6, 8 degrees, something like that. Friday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are all down single digits, high in the low 20s.
Yep.
yeah,
be fine.
just down to 30 before the sun comes up. It's not going to go up much. They keep saying Wednesday's going to be 15. I saw one report said 12. Man, that's going to be cold. That pipes start busting around here when it gets down in those low teens.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian said 5 on Monday. I think we're 8. I think we're going down to 8 or 12 on Monday. But I know the middle of the week's coldest, Wednesday, Thursday.
I think I'm going to drive down to the farm and turn. I got my water turned off already, but I think I'm going to open up the valves and stuff. Flush the toilet and make sure there's no water in it. I don't leave any heat going when I leave there.
Talking about
Yeah.
pipes busting. I had an uncle that used to be janitor when I was like in elementary. He was a janitor at school where I was at, and he told our principal one time, Mr. Ray Kennedy. He told him, I think Mr. Ray Kennedy. I think he was actually an English teacher or something. I can't remember, but he was a principal at the time, and Uncle Lattimore had went to him and said, "We got a water pipe out there. It was cold that day." He said, "We got a water pipe out there busted, Mr. Ray." He said, "Mr. Lattimore, it burst, not busted." He said, "Heck, this one busted."
Yep. That's when they usually bust too, and when it's
Yeah.
colder than thunder. Ground froze, and you have to get in there and dig that up.
I've
Been there and done that more than once.
Been there, done that. I've seen times we had to drain those towers out there at work. All those security towers, I'd just turn them off and drain them down.
Right.
Hey there, Mrs. Sandy Valley. How are you?
Yeah, Alicia's on. Matt's here. Or at least she's here.
I see her.
Lisa's here. Hi, Lisa.
Yep. Hey, Randy.
And Randy.
Yeah, I must have missed Matt. I seen somebody bring his name up. There he is.
Yeah, I think I missed it too.
And DC, you're going to get into some deep conversation that we can't get out of if we get on this solar maximum stuff.
Yeah.
We might talk about these every now and then.
You get Tom to chemtrailing on us and the whole bit, and then we'll all be in trouble.
Randy.
I could tell you some stuff, but you guys would think I'm crazy.
I don't want any more predictions.
I totally disagree with you.
No, it's just,
I'm tired of all you conspiracy theorists being right.
Yeah.
it's all the electricity that's available around the earth.
Mm-hmm.
I learned in college.
I've got some in my wall, Tom. You can just walk up to it and stick a couple of little prongs in it and lights come on. I don't know what that's from.
AJW, electricity is still a theory. We don't know how it works. We know how to control it a little bit.
Yeah, you got the particle theory and the wave theory.
And electricity
Andy, how you doing,
too.
everybody?
And I don't understand either one of them.
My biggest job I did was 10,000 volts when it was a 40,000 horsepower DC motor, and those cables were 2 feet in diameter, and they would move around like it was a snake. But the the power that was going through those cables.
All them big in the old days they called them steam shovels in these, open pit mines over between me and you, Tom, over in southern Indiana.
Yeah,
they're all electrical powered. They drag those cables around, with them when they move.
Yeah, whole different beast.
Pick up a truckload at a time and them big shovels.
Yeah. And I've done super small voltage stuff too.
So, Joey, you think this is going to be our last cold spell?
It's what I've been hearing, but I don't know.
I hope it is.
I think there'll be one more about the end of March, but not real cold. And I don't think it'll go all the way down south either. It might hit down to Tennessee, but I think the Tennessee and Ohio Valley will have one more in March, end of March.
Yeah, I mean, Joey, weren't you going to try to do splits 1st of March?
Yeah, March 1st is usually my target date, and I go from there. Kind of depends on what everything's looking like. Sometimes I go then, and I got 2 or 3 already building swarm cells, and the rest of them are a little behind. And sometimes they're all pretty much equal.
Last year was early for me up here, earlier than most. I did my last split on April Fool's Day when I did my last split this last year.
Last year was an outlier year. It was crazy
Yeah.
early.
Yeah, I've been doing all my splits or queen rearing or whatever in the first part of April, but I think that's a little late for me. I don't get any
That's
honey.
late for you. Yeah, Philip, because
But
that's about when I
that's
started.
my big swarm week is about the 2nd or 3rd week of April. That's when they all want to swarm.
Yeah, so your first swarms are probably end of March then.
They probably are. But I'm gonna try to do middle of March. I wanted to try to get closer to the 1st of March, but when I was checking on them, they got brood, but it's not much, and there's no drone brood really. I saw one colony that had some drone eggs, but no, they were just eggs, and they may not even keep those. They may, with these cold snaps, they may consume those.
Yeah, Lee, I haven't
I'm
ordered
hoping-
that coffee yet. I get it ordered maybe tomorrow. Y'all go ahead.
I'm hoping to do some splitting this early April. I'm hoping to graft at the end of March, but how cold it is right now, I don't know if that I might have to push that back a week or two.
So I have a friend that lives here in the same town where I do, and he has land in South Dakota. And I mentioned to him that South Dakota was a big beekeeping state, and he said he said you can bring your bees up and put them on my land. I said we may do that. We may do that in like June or July. And he said we'd go fishing and all that up there, hanging out. So who knows?
Where's he at up there, Philip? You know where's his land is?
I don't know what part of South Dakota he's in. I know
Some
it's
of it
tempting.
would probably be the best, the western, right out the west end of it. Some of that in the east, well, they grow some. You can make a bunch of honey up there in just a few days. You hit it right.
He said when he was growing up that there was beekeepers that had bees on their land, but they don't have them on there anymore. So yeah, I told him. I said, "Yeah, it's a massive flow up there."
Whoop. There we go.
Yep.
I wouldn't mind putting about 50 colonies on a trailer and dragging them up there. It'd be kind of fun. But I'd have to quit my job, which I wouldn't mind doing that either. But I got few people depend on me still.
You know, Philip, I'm gonna have to look into that because I'm retiring on Good Friday, the 18th of
You've
April.
been staying there for 3 years.
I'll be able to take my bees somewhere if I want to.
Okay.
You and Car
I have to broker it for you.
Schedules what Tom or Charlie's.
You got a rude awakening if you think when you retire
you still
you're
have
gonna have plenty of time. I don't know what happens when you sign that retirement. It starts off okay. It's just kind of like smooth, and all of a sudden that line just gets more jagged and more jagged.
Yeah, if you know me, Joey, I can't sit still. I always got to be doing something. So I know I'll be booked every day.
I'll make sure.
It'll be my schedule, not somebody else's schedule.
Heck, I'm on my 4th retirement.
Is Brian C on here?
Yeah.
He needs to. I need to work a deal with Brian C where he needs to move down to Dallas and take over my job, and then let me go keep bees full time.
There you go.
Did
I can
any,
handle your job as you're just an architect, aren't you, Philip?
That's it. That's it's
I
easy.
can-
Nothing to it.
I can draw, flies, and water, and all that kind of stuff. Tell them how to do it. It may not be right. It probably wouldn't be right, but I can tell them
That's why
how.
you. That's why you have insurance.
I got a pretty easy job right now, though.
did all y'all get to watch Lee's live today?
Oh, it's part
Some
of
of
it.
it I did.
I did.
You had to go watch it when you get a chance.
I was listening to it because I was out there painting boxes, and oh man, when Tim blew up the world there, that was funny. I spit all over my freshly painted boxes. I was laughing so hard.
I must have left before that happened. I had to go. I
You
had to go
missed it.
back to work. I had to work for a living.
It blew Joey all the way from his house to Lee's house. It was funny. That was so funny.
Yeah, I was finishing up lunch when Lee got on, Tim and Hannah, and I kind of listened to it while I was eating, and then I had to go out to the barn, finish up the work I was doing. I was just listening to it, but I missed a lot of it.
Yeah, Tim's always hitting the
Hey,
wrong
Mr.
button.
Mike.
He's about as computer literate as I am, I think. That's what I usually end up doing.
Uh-oh, we're falling behind. Cayman's up to 416. We're at 48.
I told Joy, I said,
49.
49.
Calvin, how you doing? You doing all right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Mike was saying Tim did a fun. Yeah, you got to go back and watch the replay, Mike. I don't know if I can describe it,
Yeah.
but Lee let Tim push some buttons, and he pushed the red button, and then everything started exploding. That was great. Oh, that was great. No, not that red one. Not that. Oh, not. Noah and I were out there painting boxes, and we were both laughing, man. It was killing me. It was so funny.
Man, my YouTube on the using totes is traps have been getting all kinds of comments.
Yeah, I even went back and watched the other one, the one you did earlier on those.
They didn't do two, did they, Joey?
What's that?
They didn't do two different ones, did they? Is that what you're talking about with Lee?
No, Tom was talking about his the video on his swarm traps.
Oh.
Yeah, it was just like a 5-minute one.
Yeah.
I use plastic totes, blue totes, 18, 19-gallon totes to build swarm traps. And I don't hang them in the trees. I put them by buildings.
So
And you know how many swarms I catch.
Yeah, Keith
Larimore
asked me a question, but Noah was wearing his painting shirt. He takes care of that Flower Street shirt. It's my shirt, but he wears it quite a bit.
You might as well get you another one.
Yeah, I might as well.
See, Ricky's on. Your numbers are bumping up.
Yeah, I bet we're over 50 by now.
We're at 50.
Y'all hit that like button now. It's worth
I
the
just
cost. of
realized I
admission.
got a summer picture in my background. I guess I'll keep it summer.
Yeah, it looks warm.
A fall picture. I had to change that. I should go back to my one where I had 18, 14, 15 inches of snow. This one.
There you
Yeah, that
go.
looks cold.
That was last month.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some snow on top of those highs.
Yeah. I think we've gotten about 17, 18 inches total so far this year.
We looked in a couple of Lee's beehives while we were there today. They're pretty strong. A couple of them got me on my hand, on my wrist. One got hung up. I didn't have gloves on. One got hung up right here, and she stung me. And 3 or 4 more come in there to help her out.
I got into my bees a little bit today. I'm getting ready to move some tomorrow.
Hey,
So-
Steve.
But one of them I left a honey super on, and it has a queen excluder between the brood and the honey super, and they tell you not to do that. So I was going to go move that queen excluder out of there, and I got to looking at them, and then pulled a few frames out of the bottom, and they had a little bit of resources in the bottom. So I was like, I don't want that queen up there in my honey super. I'm just going to leave that excluder on there and take my chances. We've almost made it the whole year.
Hey, Steve
Yeah.
Amos. How you doing, buddy?
I've left them on over winter with actually a double deep with two mediums on top of it a long time ago. And after the whole winter went by, I got to looking. I said, is that a queen excluder in there? I got out my truck and walked over there. It was an out yard. And sure enough, a queen excluder. I said, I bet I got a dead queen. I broke it open, and she was still down in the bottom. Still had a bunch of them with her. So I went ahead and pulled it.
So Melanie said, don't use duct tape. I don't know what she was talking about.
Yeah, I don't either.
You're going to have to explain yourself, Melanie.
Oh, there's Todd. Almost missed it.
Yeah. Ben
Come on in,
Smith.
Todd, and tell us something.
Come on in here and tell us about your love life, listening.
Is Argentina? Argentina, ants?
Professional girl watcher, I can tell you that. He's on
You
the
don't
prowl.
take it off. Are you talking? Oh. She's talking about, yes. You're right, Melanie. I don't need to be using duct tape on the entrance like I did that. It's going to be a little, that was 80 plus degrees when I did that. So even if I did use duct tape, I don't know if it would,
Chicken pork chops.
I don't think it'd be a problem tomorrow when I'm moving them and it's 35 or 40 degrees.
He can.
Yeah.
He's cooking more than one, so he's either got somebody with him or he's going to email one to me.
Yeah. Or maybe he's like me.
There you go. I think I can smell it all the way from here.
Yes, Dennis, there was still honey, and I thought it was capped, but it wasn't capped. But it's still, that super's pretty heavy. I'll probably end up using it in splits, even though they're mediums. I don't mind throwing mediums in my splits and let they can just build off the bottom of them if they need to.
I had some like that for a long time. long as you got them on the bottom box, if you ever put it on the top box, they'll attach it. They'll
Oh,
attach
to the
the
bottom.
bottom of that comb to your top rail on the bottom one.
Yeah, I don't ever run too deep. If I was even when I was running two brood chambers, there was always a medium above them.
I'll tell you, boys.
I wouldn't say never, but I don't leave them like that very long.
Run. I do single brood management, but I always have two deeps on. Either the queen excluder's in between or not. During the flow, the queen excluder's there, and non-flow, it's not there.
Single queen management. That's
Do
what.
you-
Single brain management.
Tom, do you have a video on that?
No, I don't think I do.
Okay. I know Monday, I think Lee and Charlie is going to do demonstrations on their different methods, how they do it. You know, Charlie does what they call the rolling. Is it the rolling?
Demeray and Bill, you mean on the? Yeah,
I don't
Bill.
do a I just run a single deep for
I want
brood.
to give a little
During the
shout
flow.
out for Tony West over east of you, Tom. He puts out about a good video on that Demeray to me, for understanding, or Brad Hogg.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just to me, it's a little extra work,
Yeah.
and I think a single brood management, how I do it, gets the same amount of honey as the Demeray gets. Because I move all the brood, all but 2 frames of brood up to the top box to hatch out. And that's, but I just don't separate it. So I get all, and then she starts laying the whole bottom out because I put new comb frames in there. And it's pretty much the same thing. I'm smelling Nancy's pork chops. You're a lot closer.
Well, Bill said he was going
Yeah,
to try to
barbecue
video it
pork
where he
chops
did or not. I don't know. Clay said they did a nice job with it.
Oh, okay. That was today. Yeah.
Yeah, so usually right around end of April, 3rd week of April, that's when our flow really starts going. I'll go ahead and put the queen excluder on, or maybe even before that, 2nd week of April, and I'll move the brood frames up to upper deep above the queen excluder. Leave the queen down below. And then I'll put whatever brood I bring up, I put new frames right in the center. And she'll lay those babies up in 2 weeks. And as the other ones are hatching out, she's got the other frames full. That kind of keeps them from swarming too.
Yeah.
Buys me a few weeks.
Oh,
I
Nice.
hope they did. I hope they recorded it.
Yeah. I think they said they were going to.
Yeah, Clay was there. Clay Brunner there.
Yeah. Maybe they was going to do something else.
Well, whatever. But straight
Was it raining,
down,
Clay?
Tony West does a really nice job. He's got several videos on it.
Yeah. I'm like Tom. The less I can do, the better for me. That's the way I
That's
like
how
it.
I am.
Like you, I don't do that either. I'm pretty much a double screen board guy, you know.
He didn't see a camera.
Okay.
Well, Bill doesn't want to give his secrets away. He wants to give his class every year.
Yeah. Clay, that's just a hop, step, and a jump for you. Got to drive 11 hours to a doggone bee conference. Well, he's almost as silly as I am.
yeah. Clay's
We
been
sure had a
traveling.
good time, oh, didn't we? didn't we, Clay? We had a lot of fun. That was about as fun a conferences I've been to.
Yeah, I plan to do more conferences this coming next year or this next winter / spring, this time of year.
What do you mean you didn't have any fun? That's because you're too busy looking at them women.
We're doing the one in Louisville. I'll probably do one down by Joey.
They see Todd's from that area, right? So he probably still had to hide from a
He's
few.
way over on the other side of the state when he lived there. I think most when he's there in Missouri, he was cleared
He
out.
might have had to drive in from the east side just to avoid all the restraining orders that they had on him.
Yeah.
He probably got stiff neck when by the time he got home. He just looking around all those young, pretty women there hanging out around them bars there at that motel. About broke his neck.
Charlie's probably driving through a lot of rain, heavy rain.
Huh.
Yeah, probably would be if he went home tonight down there.
It was going right through Ohio, Kentucky, right through Virginia, maybe a little bit down Tennessee, a little bit up in West Virginia.
Oh, he's finally admitting it. He admits he got the old stiff neck. Yeah, Calvin, we got his number, don't we, buddy?
Yeah, it looked like he was having a lot of fun.
We had a good time, or I did. Ron Zavada and Todd, and myself, Matt, Ron Bottom, the whole bunch. We had to get it out of an evening. We had quite a bit of fun.
Right, perfect size, not too many, not too small.
Yeah, I think
Good
they had a
number.
little over 300, you know.
Right.
They had some good speakers. Not that I ever pay attention much to them, but they had some good ones.
Right.
And they had
Wife
you
just
could buy
called
about
me.
anything you wanted there. They had, well, Benny had a trailer load, and John Hill had a trailer load. Greg had a trailer load. Greg Burns. I had, and they had,
All right.
and they had 2 or 3 others that had a pretty good trailer load. There's a couple B supplies from out there in central Missouri, out there in the middle of the state. I don't know the fix that well. I bought some Tom Sussman does off his frames off of this one guy, and I bought some because I'm needing some medium frame for some of my medium supers. So I need to get some more medium stuff drawn out.
Yeah. I was digging through cleaning them, building the shelves and restacking them. I found a box of medium frames. I totally forgot I had them. I think I bought them in 2019.
Yeah.
Haven't used them yet. So now I got to buy some frames. Got to buy a dozen frames, put them together, and pop
the
those.
name of that. They're nice folks, and everybody brags on their products. That's the first time I ever bought anything off of them, but we'll see. I haven't got the.
Yeah, these were right sell that I bought back then. It's like, oh, I didn't know I had these. I got more found black deep foundations too. I got hundreds of them that I bought one time. I was gonna make my own frames, but that never happened.
Wife just called me, said we got severe weather headed this way. Told her I was
Oh,
gonna
man.
hunker down. Told her I was gonna hunker down right here.
As long as
We
you don't
look at radar.
I was trying to get my radar pulled up, but it's showing what it's calling future, but it's not showing what I usually look at. What I'm seeing is, I don't know. That may be future.
I got some heavy rain coming through right now. Yeah, there's some in Mississippi. Yeah, there's a line coming through. Let me see if there's storms in it. Yeah, there's a tornado up by Johnsville, Louisiana. That's the only one I see.
Only one there I see there says Franklinton, and that Franklinton there's about the
Port
Yeah.
Gibson, St. Joe area.
Oh dear.
Joy's
That's not
not paying no
good.
attention to me. I'm trying to stir
I'm
it.
That's way up
I'm
north.
listening.
I was hoping you wouldn't say that, Tom. Jonesville is probably what you were saying, not Johnsville. Jonesville, but yeah, my mother lives. My mother lives right there, across from Port Gibson.
Okay.
Louisiana stuff. You said it's a warning, or is it?
There's two tornadoes that just went through that area. Port Gibson.
Yeah, Port Gibson's across the river from them. Yeah, I'm gonna send
And
you-
a cell. There's like 3 cells there, and 2 of them's got tornadoes.
I wonder if my brother went to see my mom today. And I don't know if he stayed there, if he drove. He usually don't spend the night. He lives in Cheneyville. Y'all won't know where that is. Joey knows where that is probably.
One by Norris Springs. I don't know what that is. Yeah. Jonesville, yeah. Just east of Jonesville, the other side of the river. So there is some few tornadoes out there. Well, there's some in Kentucky too. Oh, there's tornadoes all over the place. Kentucky. All east, south, and east of me.
My wife's in Monroe, Louisiana right now.
Monroe.
Yeah.
Well, it's just getting past there, or it's right on it right now, actually.
It's been a lot of years since I've seen so many tornadoes on a radar map.
I'm hearing some thunder out there now.
Are you watching Ryan Hall, Tom?
No, I've got Wonder Underground on.
Oh, okay.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. There's at least 24 tornadoes on the ground right now. From central Kentucky all the way down to about Alexandria, Louisiana. And I do know that area. All head north.
Yeah, Ryan Hall's right. He was on Louisiana right when I got there, but he went to. Did he come in?
Yeah, he's fine.
Okay.
We got flood warnings. Strong storm
Get over.
just south of me.
Milk. I spilled
All right. Yeah. We usually get our big tornadoes about the end of March, early April.
You heard, dude. Wait a minute.
Oh, we're on delay.
That's
Hello.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Noah.
You going out tight shooting out there in north central Texas, Philip? You gonna hit the road on you?
Noah was petting the dog, and he's like, "What did you spill on him?" Yeah, exactly, DC. I tried to clean him. I tried to dry him off. That milk's good for his skin. Good for his coat. Mm. Probably need to wipe him down.
If the power goes out here, y'all just have to keep on talking till I get the generator fired up.
Jerry, I think everything was north of you.
Right.
Well, it's got some coming to me.
You know, like storms, yeah, but it looked like all
Yeah,
the tornadoes were just
Weather, yeah, just weather.
a little bit north of you. Looks like it's more central Louisiana than north.
It looked like a line that's kind of going diagonally all the way
Yeah.
up through there.
That line goes all the way up to central Kentucky.
It probably hadn't got to you yet, has it, Joey? Because you're kind of
No,
southeast.
It's headed this way. That
Yeah.
that part, the bad part is.
It's probably southwest, northeast right now. My mom's in northeast Louisiana.
But looks like Tom said, we just kind of catching the tail end, just kind of dragging across.
Yeah, I think the farthest south one is. Let me zoom in, find a good town. Holly Grove.
Weather chat.
Yeah, Peck, a little area called Peck.
We talked
Right
prison
on route.
last week. We're going to talk weather this week.
Did you say Oak Grove, right? That's Ollie Grove? Olla is a place there near Winfield.
Yeah, as far as I got down there with Baton Rouge and Alexandria area,
Yeah,
work
Ryan,
wise.
looking at there's a pretty bad one in Mississippi right now. Chahula. Winona. Near Greenwood, Kosciuszko, that area.
There you go.
Yep.
Let me see if my sister or brother responded. Paul said, I think it's going north of us. That would be like the Oak Grove area.
I can hear the rain hitting the roof. It's coming down. A lot of times the storms run just to the southeast of the greater Cincinnati area. And I'm on the west part of the city.
How
Yeah,
far
that's-
south of 50 coming across there are you, Tom? You come across there on 50?
Yeah, I'm actually about a mile away from 50,
Okay.
US 50 on the west side of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
It's storms and it's a long stretch. He's going all the way up through Tennessee. He's showing now.
Yeah, my bees fly to the Ohio River. They fly to Kentucky if they want to. It's like 3.5 miles across the Ohio, 3 miles to get across the river.
See, my main bee farm is just a mile off of 50 also here in southeastern Illinois, you know.
Yeah.
I'm basically, well, actually the road you're a little north of me there in Cincinnati. I'm further south than what y'all are.
Yeah, I think that storm is way north of where my mom, well, it's not way north, but it's probably 30 miles north of where my mom is.
Robert?
Yeah, Mark's in
Robert.
Union City.
The storm that's going over my area right now doesn't have any severe weather in it, luckily. Just heavy rain.
Yeah, Todd, Mark's in Union City is the name of the place. They're just pretty close to Reelfoot Lake.
I didn't mean to jump in and ruin your weather chat.
Oh, yeah, that's what we're
Actually,
on. We're on all about the weather.
I was actually trying to reach out to Tom a little bit there, but I seen you guys on, and I might bug you guys. I was just playing around with building a little tool for pricing honey, and I was going to get somebody to play with it and ferret it out just to see if I'm not just batshit crazy. But I was just building something little to a spreadsheet that I was going to put onto the network there, the bee, like beekeepers, if anybody's interested in it, but just to help them figure out how to price their honey. But I wanted somebody to look at it before I did that, because I didn't want the thing to be, just completely off base.
There is no base. There's
Yeah.
no base here. We just kind of all out there.
I can share with you, and you guys can make some comments, and I can adjust it a little bit if you want.
Throw it up there if you can.
I see if that's possible. Share screen, right? Let's just see.
You can hit present.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm just picking the right window. I picked it, but I don't think it's presenting. Oh, do I need something different here?
That's not it. You need me to pull it up.
Can you see it?
I think you might have to approve it, Joey. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So basically, and I'll run through this as fast as I can just so it makes sense, but I just put a little thing in here to calculate what your sugar costs are, what your different costs are, fondant, pollen, blah, blah, blah. That's what this is here. And then that comes up with a figure to figure out what your actual cost for honey, for the actual honey is, for your production cost. And then I did added in just a calculation. So if you have, most people probably don't have operational costs, but if they do, I just threw some stuff in there for that. And then I put a bill of material in here where you can just put in your different equipment. So this is all from Blue Sky Equipment, or Blue Sky Supply Company. And it just calculates out to the per item. So then you could just pull it up here. So if you pick a 1 pound jar, embossed container, lid, front and rear labels, blah, blah, blah. That gives you a price. And then that gives you some calculations over here. And then you can just punch in what you fill. So like if you want a 1 pound jar, and this is your bottling cost, if you put an estimated price up here, say $10, what your estimated retail is. This just comes in and tells you what your like your minimum price for wholesale versus your minimum retail price, and you can add in your taxes. It automatically adds in your taxes and your commission. So, for example, if you want to go to 30% commission, this gives you what you should be looking at if you're selling it for that price. I just did this for my own benefit because I was trying to give new pricing to a couple companies that I'm dealing with, and I needed to know what I should be charging for it. And this allows me just to go in here and put in some calculations. So, example, like let's say you had 20 hives and you're running 10 frame equipment and you're running deeps. This calculates how many pounds of sugar per hive that you would need to overwinter. So your total pounds of sugar for the year, if that's what you're running, 20 hives, 10 frame deeps. If you're filling that with sugar, that's 1,700 pounds of sugar, which is kind of high. But in my case, like I had 85 units this year. I run 8 frame equipment. I run mediums. So total feed would be 3,825 pounds if you were trying to fill 85 hives full of sugar. And it just does that for a calculation. And then if you say you had 2,500 pounds if you produce 2,500 pounds, that gives you your base calculation. But like I said, I'm just playing with it, but just to see what makes sense for people, just so they can come up with something. I know most people probably just throw a swag at it, right? The local people are paying $10. I'm going to charge $10. But my thing is after talking with like Brad and those guys, I feel like you really need to know what your costs are before you can accurately price.
So Robert, on that over there, you have lids, boxes, frames, bottom boards, all that stuff.
Yeah, if you have to pay whatever you produce that, or if you have to spend, in this case,
so that would be just for that year, right? Like
yes.
Expansion. Okay.
Yeah, if you're trying to figure out what your costs are, your true costs, like you could put that.
That's not per hive or anything like that.
It calculates it per hive. It breaks this $1,000 in this case down to per hive or per pound of honey. So here's 1,000. You spent $1,000 in equipment. You produced 1,000 pounds. Your total cost with sugar is $2.82 a hive. That's just calculating the cost per hive, right? That's not not per hive. That's your total cost for the year.
Yeah.
To produce honey. If you made 1,000 pounds, if you made 2,000 pounds, if you made 200 pounds, it's $14 a pound. If you made 2,000 pounds, it's $1.41 a pound. That's your operational cost or your production cost, right? Now, some people have, which, like if you didn't add anything this year, let's say you're in your 3rd year and you didn't add any new equipment. Well, you could zero that out, right? And let's say you had 10 hives and you're running 10 frames and you're running deeps, then your sugar is going to be 890 pounds based on 85 pounds per hive. That's if you filled them to the top, right? If you didn't need, let's say you didn't have to put a ton of sugar in them, like they were already a little bit filled, you could just, you can adjust it to low and then 75 pounds per. Go ahead.
So the yield per box, that's how much sugar?
Yeah, I just did it kind of reverse, right? One frame. I based this on frames, right? So this is how much honey a frame will hold. That's the only thing I can base it on, right? If you convert honey and sugar 1-to-1 is what I'm looking at, right? I just did that to compare so I could figure out if I have 40 hives, how much, and I'm running single deeps, then it's going to be 3,000 pounds of sugar to fill them to the top. Now, granted, they might already have, half of that. I don't know. So
Yeah,
you-
I mean, I
Well-
never use anywhere near that
Yeah.
amount.
Yeah,
Well-
because Robert, I know I can feed each one of my hives. I feed about 6 gallons per fall to get them filled up.
right. So that's 6 gallons is what, 72 pounds?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
There you go. That's all that is. So that's 75 pounds per hive. If you had 40 hives, you put 75 pounds per hive. It's
yeah,
3,000
that's semi-close.
yeah.
Yeah,
So all I did was just take the reverse of honey and just convert it into sugar pounds. That way, and then what I did is I just put in here a bag of sugar, what you're paying for a 50-pound bag. So if I went in here and looked, the sugar, right here. So a 50-pound bag right now is like $36.84. I don't know, at Costco or something, 79 cents per
80
pound.
cents a pound. Yeah,
And then that just adds it to this total. So that's where, if you, like I said, the more honey you produce, the less it costs you per pound for that sugar, right? Essentially.
sure.
So if you only made 500 pounds, then your honey cost by the time you put your sugar on is going to be $6 a pound. That's your
Right.
cost, because your operation here, or your production of that honey cost you this. So your minimum. So
That's why I tell people to sell their honey for $10 doesn't make any money.
yeah, so if you put in here, let's say you made 1,500 pounds and 40 hives, which last year, because I had a really bad year, I had or the year before, sorry, I had 85 last year. The year before, I had 44 hives. I made 1,680 pounds on 44 hives. So if I was to feed them out, which I did, it would have cost me $2 a pound for my honey, or from the sugar for my honey.
Right, right.
And then I don't really have operational costs, but if somebody did, I mean, you could zero that out. It's not really, doesn't matter, but your total
But
cost.
every year you got to buy some equipment, so there's always some.
Yeah, that's
material.
what I said. I originally put like, that's $1,000. So let's say if I put $100 for each one of these things, frames, because I did actually, I had $1,200 in frames that year. That was the first year I bought frames. I built them myself prior to that. But anyway, that brought me up to $258 a pound is what it cost me. And then when you come in here and you figure out your container, whatever that is, like I have a front and rear label. Once again, it's in the bill of material here. So I put in here what each label cost. You can adjust it. And then
Right.
you build up your label here, or your bottle. And then
Your bottle
that's
cost.
$1.58 per bottle. And then that's why if you look here, your wholesale price does not take into consideration. That's not it doesn't really work. Wholesale doesn't really work for 1 pound, because nobody wholesales 1 pounds, right? Not really. Now, if you go and get a bucket, let's say you do a 5-gallon bucket. So now 5-gallon bucket, the wholesale, that's your wholesale. All that is your cost. It adds up your cost. This is if you made nothing on it. Your break even would be $125 in that bucket. But if you like, I put $270 for retail price in here. So if I wanted to sell that bucket for $270, this is what my profits would be. So your gross profit is your retail price minus your production cost, your operating overhead, and then your commission. Because there's no on wholesale, you don't really pay commission. Most people don't, right? You usually sell direct if you're doing wholesale. So there's no commission there. So you zero that out. But anyway, that's where your gross profit, and then your operating is just adding in your operating expenses. So if you had operating expenses, you're paying employees or whatever. I don't know what you're paying for, but if you're paying for something, let's say you had $6,000 in operational costs. If you sold for $270, you'd be losing money.
Right.
You know? So that's kind of what I was doing. I was trying to figure out. I'm getting ready to wholesale some buckets. In addition to, I'm setting up. I've got potentially two new distributors, and so I'm trying to figure out what my costs are going to be for this year, what I can sell it for versus what I should be selling it for. And that's the purpose of this. Like, I don't have these expenses, so this would be nothing for me.
Well, you're not paying you need to be paying yourself, I guess, right?
Well, I guess you're kind of paying for it. I mean, paying yourself in your profit, right? This is paying yourself up front. If you're paying yourself first,
Kind of depends on how you wanted to do it. You might want to just draw a salary every week and leave most of it in the budget. It just kind of depends on how you want to do that.
The problem is if you don't put something in for yourself, you don't know whether you're working for $2 an hour or $50 an hour.
And, I might be missing it, but you may not need it, but I would need a column in there for nukes too that I sell and how much I sell them for.
Oh, that would kind of be its own kind of thing, right?
It could actually be another page, but tie into that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, this is something that I had a need for this week because I have two different, I've got an orchard and a distributor that's talking to me about selling my honey. And I'm trying to figure out what my costs are because I want to make sure that I'm still making a fair profit. You know what I mean? I don't want to undercut myself.
Nancy had a question, Robert. She wanted to know if you would share that on the Facebook.
Well, before I do it, I just want to get people like somebody to look at this and think that so I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty close, Robert.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is I'm not sure how beneficial these numbers are. Now, granted, the net profit, which is actually pretty small, when you put in these numbers and you start looking at subtracting out your expenses, you realize you don't make as much as you think you do. Because, for example, let's say you had 1,500 pounds for easy math here. You had 1,500 pounds and you were charged on 1 pound, right? Let's do 1 pounders just for people who can kind of get behind that easy. So, and let's say you're given a 30% commission out to the distributor. Some people only do 25 or whatever, but let's just use that for an easy math here. If you sold every one of those pounds, or if you sold 1,500 1 pound bottles, you'd make $15,000, right? Retail. However, by the time you pay commissions and all the other stuff, you're only profiting $1,041.
Right.
That's ridiculous. Like, you might as well work for, why even bother if you're going to spend all that time and effort for $1,100?
So,
and that's the thing. I didn't even realize how little I was earning on my pound, if you will, until I did this. Because once I did this, I was like, oh my God, I'm giving my time away. But
I think we were talking about something about that. I think it was today at Lee's or somewhere. Anyway, here it's always been for the last several years. I've sold 1 pound for $6.
Golly,
and I've had to do that because people around me is selling it for $5.
God.
But now I'm putting it in a couple of stores, and those stores have slowly marked it up. And now one of the stores has got it up to like $2.99 above what he's buying it from me. So that has helped in the last several months. That has helped the price of the honey go up around here. Now people don't mind paying the extra money. So I guess that's a big plus in starting to sell it in stores around here. It's kind of helped the value of the honey go up a little bit. Because
so do you sell yours? I'm assuming you sell yours to the stores at a discount of what you sell at jar at a time, right?
Because out the door $7 now, but that guy's still selling for $5.
Okay, so let's do your little math here. $7 is what you're selling it for, okay?
Yeah.
And let's say, how much do you think you spend a year just let like right here. So how many hives do you have?
I about 38 living
Okay.
colonies right now.
So 38. You run deeps or mediums?
Deeps,
Okay. So 10 frame or 8 frame?
10 frame.
10 frame. Okay. How much sugar do you have to usually put on? Do you usually have to put 6
Not-
gallons or 3
Not
gallons?
a whole lot. I probably put more sugar water on last year or this past year than I have all the other years that I've ever done it.
So 3 pounds? Does that sound 3 pounds?
Maybe.
I mean, sorry, 3 gallons.
Just go with just do the 3 gallons. And see
Okay,
where you
so
go
3
with it.
gallons, you'd be somewhere, and we can cut this down. Let's say we'll make this a medium just for the math here. Sorry about that. Let's take it back to low. So that's about 60 pounds, I'm guessing, 60 pounds per hive. It's 2,280 pounds of sugar. So that math is already added in here. How much did you spend on treatments last year? None?
0.
How much did you spend on fondant?
0.
No winter feed at all?
I put a little this past fall is the only time I fed. I put
Okay,
Just-
pollen?
no pollen.
Do you do any hive lids, boxes, frames this year?
Oh yeah.
How much?
Every year I've always bought like 12 boxes, and
$15 a piece?
I usually buy the wax one, so I'm paying about 25.
25?
But Joey, is that for your nukes? Is that for nukes or is that for your honey?
Do what?
When you're buying those boxes, is that for nukes or is that for your honey?
Just in general.
Okay, so you did 25 boxes, or sorry, how many boxes?
Well,
Let's just round it off to 10 boxes a year that I buy.
Okay, 10 times 25? That's $250. What about lids?
Yeah.
What's your lid?
5 and 5.
How much do you pay for them?
Last year they were Bob Benny ones. I think they were like what 35.
So what?
30,
How many?
I think they were,
35.
really, I thought they were like 22 or something.
160?
I thought you said 10, or is it 5 of them?
5.
5.
Yeah,
sorry.
let's go with
5
5 and 5.
Okay, and then how many frames?
You know what? I think I bought 10 and 10 on the lids and bottoms. 10 and 10.
Okay, so 350.
Yeah.
What in bottoms 350, and then how much on frames?
I can't remember that now.
Round number. Throw it out there.
Get 1,000 frames, right? About $3, $2 to $3 a frame.
I didn't go through 1,000 frames. So
Okay, 500 at 250.
yeah, let's say that.
Okay. Now, what about equipment? You have any outside miscellaneous equipment you bought last year? Smokers?
Oh, I know he bought some equipment.
You didn't
The big
buy any
numbers
equipment.
here.
He doesn't. His wife must be standing there. He just doesn't want
No,
to.
no.
All right.
He made some videos on some nice equipment.
So there's nothing else you bought last year.
I get my years all go together like days around here, man.
Okay. What about fuel costs for last year? Rough
What cost?
fuel. What'd you spend fuel to run around and get this stuff or whatever? Any kind of miscellaneous stuff like that?
I've got it. I've got all that in receipts, but I don't know.
Number
His
$500.
his total cost, his miscellaneous cost, you can put at least a couple $1,000 for attending the Nobby.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just go from there. So let's just say you had, and I'm not even including fuel costs or whatever, but that's $4.34 just in what your how many pounds of honey did you make?
A little over 1,200, I think it was 1,200 pounds.
Okay, so you have $5.42 before you even bottle it. So your minimum before we've even started, your minimum cost, that's assuming once again on the bottom, one bottle is a 1 pound. This is an embossed with the 38 millimeter lid, front and rear labels. Do you put a date code sticker or anything on it?
Date code? No.
No. So you just have front and rear labels.
Yeah.
Okay. And then do you have anything else that you put on it? Shrink wraps or anything like that?
No, that's about it.
Okay. So you pay $1.32 for a bottle, right? Roughly.
Yeah.
That's retail. That's not wholesale, but that'll give you something. I just looked up the retail prices. So anyway, your price with no commissions, no taxes, no nothing is $6.74. So if you're
Yeah.
selling for $7, you're not even covering your taxes.
Yeah.
You're losing money.
What my business here is doing is eating up money for the profits that I've made in my mini storage. It's a write-off for my mini storage. It's all
So-
incorporated together.
Yeah. So you like,
Well, we ain't gonna put that in there.
sure, but I'm just saying, like, you should be your minimum, and I'm just playing with numbers here, but your minimum retail, if you were retailing it, would be about. This is break even with taxes, and that's a 30% commission. Would be $9.65 if you're paying a commission. If you're not, what are you paying? I mean, I'm not trying to get in your business, but what's a normal commission in your area? 20%, 30%? What's a normal commission in your area?
I don't know what to figure on that.
Well, basically, how much less do you sell it to the stores than you would buy the bottle to a person?
$1.
Or just
Wow.
$1 less?
$1 different.
Well, that's
tough, man.
one
So-
divided by 7, right? What is
Yeah.
that?
If you put $0 for your commission, let's just throw that out there, right? You're not paying any commission. Your
His
lowest
commission-
price you can
His
sell
commission would be
retail-
1 divided by 7.
The lowest price you can sell this for retail should be $7.67.
Yeah.
Uh,
I might go up to $8 tomorrow.
You
I
need
have
to
play
go
with
up
numbers
more than
here.
that.
But I
Uh,
have been for the last 3 years or so
His
buying
commission's 14%.
more equipment than I really need to get it where I don't need to buy a whole lot anymore, during the years.
Yeah, 675 is now granted you said you're doing this for a tax write-off or whatever, but your 675,
See, I actually sold nukes last year too.
yeah. But you get the point. That's why I was playing with this, because I was trying to put in all the numbers so I could figure out what my minimum is, because what you don't realize is this stuff right here, the fact that if you're selling this at 674, that doesn't even include taxes. So you have to be up to pay taxes. You have to be above that number.
We
That's
don't
no commission.
we don't have taxes here on honey.
Yeah, I don't have taxes either for food.
Well, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about profit. You got to pay taxes on your profit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's what this is. This is income
What?
tax, not
but this,
Okay.
So that's why I put 32% in there for a tax. That's just a random tax bracket. Like you could put in here whatever you want, 26% tax bracket or something to play with numbers. But the point is
Right.
you still have to figure that. I mean, unless you're doing everything cash and Uncle Sam doesn't know and
Yeah.
you're happy with that, power to you, brother. But
Yeah.
if you have to pay the taxes, which that's what I'm saying is like, if I'm selling to a
now
retailer,
the retailer, what was that? The retailer has to charge a tax on it, but
income tax or sales tax, that's
us,
different.
we don't have to do the sales tax.
The
here.
problem
The
is,
retailer shouldn't have to charge a tax on that. on
Well, they
food.
may not. I don't know nothing about what they do.
it's more the issue that you're going to get a lack of better 1099 or whatever it is from the retailer that they sold this much. Now you got to pay Uncle Sam your whatever percentage of that. That's why I included it.
Where's your labor at, Robert? Because I mean, are you just paying yourself nothing to figure all this in here? Because that's a big chunk.
That's what they were talking about earlier. It's right here. You could put that in here. I don't know what that number would be, but let's say Joey wants to pay himself $2,500 a year. He lost money because now his minimum is $8.83.
Well, like I said, I sell new. I'm not going to say how many I sold.
That's
but
fine.
I sell new.
You get the point, though. You should be charging $8.83 if you're paying yourself $2,500 a year,
right,
running this operation. If you're charging less than $8.83, you're losing money flat out.
Spreadsheet.
So, like I said, I just threw this out to see what people thought as far as like, am I missing something and should I change some stuff before I drop it out on the beekeepers or the No Life Beekeepers site or whatever.
So, yeah, on your sugar cost, I don't know how. I guess I would have to put sugar out in there as just a line item because I don't feed. I probably feed about 20 or 25%.
You just turn it off right here.
Yeah, turn it off and then put it on in a line.
Yeah,
item.
so right here, see where I changed it from sugar. It went to $5.
I'm guessing I buy about 300 to 500 pounds per year.
Well, you could just adjust that. So, like, let's say you put sugar in here, you could just come in here and change this to less hives if that's the way you wanted to do it, or change them to shallows.
Oh, I see what you're saying. The hive number is just to calculate your sugar cost.
See,
right?
Bruce has got a good point right there. I have never bought that many hives in 1 year, but
he explained that, Bruce. He's saying that's just for the year's cost. That was the first question I asked. He's got that. You don't put that. That's not a yearly cost. That's the past year's cost. Is what that is.
Yeah, it's past year cost.
Now, and you're going to have fluctuation. You're going to have 1 year you buy a bunch of stuff and years you don't buy stuff. But that doesn't mean you need to reduce your price of your honey. This is just trying to say, I need to earn or sell this much. Otherwise, I'm losing money.
Yeah, when I retire, my goal is to live off Social Security and build everything I ever wanted to build into my business, like my barn, like Tom has there, and buy a truck and all the stuff I've always wanted, so I don't have to pay any taxes on it. And then we'll do that for like 5 years, and then start paying Uncle Sam some money if I need to, or let my kids own the business.
I will say
this year I bought 20 hives, but I probably won't ever buy that many again.
The one thing I will say that I found out about doing this is the more honey you make, the better life is, because
we're hive.
Just in general, like let's say I put 100 hives in here. Oops, not 1,000, 100 hives in here.
Fast.
And let's say I feed them out. I'm doing 8-frame equipment, and I'm doing mediums. And I'm only putting 35 pounds of sugar on each one to get them through winter, let's say. And let's say, I'm just throwing numbers out here, but let's say I spend $2,000 a year, something like that. But if I make 5,000, or if 100 hives, if I made 5,000 pounds, your expense drops through the floor. Like look at your wholesale price now.
Right.
If you can produce the honey, your wholesale price goes way down. That's how like Ian and those guys are making a living selling their honey for $2 something a pound, because their honey, the higher you can get this number, like those guys are doing like whatever it is, 20,000 pounds. Look at the cost.
Ian's doing way more than he's doing 200,000 pounds.
Yeah, I get 80 to 90 pounds of hive. So if I had 100 hives, I'd be at 10,000 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, look at if you had 20,000 pounds, it brings your cost down. Now, granted, this would go up, right? You would end up having, I don't know what the number is. Let's 1,000.
In my mind, there's no sense in even thinking about selling bulk wholesale until you get to 4,000 or 5,000 pounds of honey.
Yeah, but I mean, if you can do 20,000 hives, and even if you had 10, or right here, this is $42,000 in expenses right here. even if you had $42,000, but you were making 20,000 pounds, your wholesale is only $2.12. That's where I never could understand how these guys could sell their honey so cheap until I did this. And it finally made sense because I couldn't understand, because in my world, right, I had the year before, not last year, the year before, I had 44 hives and I made 1,600 pounds. And you can see $10 doesn't even cut it per pound retail.
Yeah, that's because you got to make sure per hive you got to get as many poundage as possible per hive. That's the secret.
Yeah. So
If you only get 20, 30 pounds or 50 pounds per hive, you're going to be losing money.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I've got to start selling bees, because I don't get that. I'll probably never get 50 a pound per hive. I can probably once I get all my drawn comb up, get to about 40 pounds per hive.
I actually at one time wanted to go to just selling bees and not dealing with any honey, but
Honey's a byproduct of having bees, though. You're
I
always
was
gonna
going to say, that's pretty much impossible.
yeah, it's hard to do.
now, when I drop this out there, if anybody's looking at this quick comparison tool I've got over here, it's not exactly accurate, because when you start adjusting all the percentages and stuff like that, you can't adjust that on each one of these at the same time, right? It doesn't magically know. But it is kind of crazy, though, if you look at this comparison tool, how much your total, if you sell 1 pounders, right, and you have 16, let's use 1,500 just for easy math. If you do 1 pounders at $10 a pound, that's $15,000. But your profit after all your taxes are paid is only $234. Now, if you go to 2 pounders and you give a reduction in price, which most people do, you're selling for 18. Well, now, I know why, because my commission's off here. I took the commission out. Something's wrong there.
I don't know how you can get that much more profit out of a 2 pounder.
No, there's an error in the calculation somewhere, because that should be somewhere in between, right? Between
Yeah.
2
You
and
start
3
selling
pounders.
2 pounders.
But,
Yeah, that's all I'd sell.
but it does show you that a 3 pounder is more profitable, even though your total retail is less. You make more profit on a 3 pounder. If you sold all your honey in 3 pounds, you would make more profit because your expenses go down.
So how do they go
Yeah, but-
down? I don't understand how they go down except for the container.
The container.
The container goes up.
If
Like,
you
usually when you get 3 pounds, you're in a glass
Well, the
versus
3
plastic.
pound, Mike, there's not much difference in cost on per size on
I can
container.
tell you the difference right here. So if I go to a 3 pounder, and this filters so you only can see 3 pound equipment. Once you select 3 pounds here, so here's a 3 pound embossed unit. It's $1.05. You still have the same lid, same labels, blah blah blah. It's $1.89 versus
But
$1.50.
it's spread out over 3 pounds of honey. I understand.
Over
Well,
3
30
pounds. Yeah, you're right. Okay, that makes sense.
You're only 30 cents more, but then you split 30 cents over 3 pounds. It's only 10 cents more per pound.
Right.
This reminds me, I got to do my taxes.
What's that?
This reminds me, I got to do my taxes.
Yeah, I still got to do mine.
Hey Robert, I have a question for you here on this. I just came in late in the game and I can't see it because I'm driving, but I see you have a spreadsheet program going on here for costs and expenses and such. Do you have anywhere on that spreadsheet that has like other value added items like queens, value added items on your honey and things like that?
No, this isn't like for calculating your bee business. I was trying to, and maybe you missed this earlier, but I'm setting up some wholesale and another retailer, and I had to get pricing for them. And so in order to get pricing for them, I had to go through and do the math. And so when I'm doing the math, I just decided to build a spreadsheet, and once I built the spreadsheet, I figured out I was actually going to undercut myself. I was actually going to lose money.
Yeah.
So now that I've done the calculations here, I realized I have to charge more for my honey than what I was planning on charging,
Right.
which might be a conflict with the retailer. I don't know, because I'm going to be more expensive than the honey he's currently selling by $1 or $2. But if he can't accept those terms, then it is what it is. I'm not going to take a loss to compete with other people on the shelf.
That's right. You'll just have to get close with your
And
market.
they probably don't know they're losing money, Robert.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. That's why, like, this whole thing kind of was helping me out, because I found out, like we were just talking about with Joey, like, you know, there's a threshold here, and especially for like Joey, he's really close to that threshold of like giving his honey away.
If I bought that kind of equipment every year, it would be.
Yeah. Now, granted, like you said, you don't have to buy that equipment every year, and there's other parts of the puzzle. You make more on some nukes and whatever and offsets it, but it's still, at the end of the day.
Oh dear.
Right.
So anyway, I just thought maybe I'd ask if you guys need if there's anything else you can think of other than like, just in the honey part of it. Is there anything else you guys can think of, critiques or whatever, that I'm missing here, or something I should consider? I am not saying that every one of these calculations is 100% correct, and that this thing is the jewel of the Nile. I built this over the last 2 evenings till like 1 a.m. last 2 nights, just trying to throw something together so I can get these guys estimates or costs. So.
Well, I'm sure that would get you on the paper, to understand where you're at.
Yeah, and it did. I know my numbers now. It's just I don't know if they're going to be happy with my numbers, but that's their problem, not mine.
The only thing, Robert, I could see you might want to change a little bit is I sell 1-pounders wholesale and I sell 1-pounders retail
Okay.
price. So I'd have to have my profit or my loss separated. Well,
All right. Well, this sell right here, this $10. This is the difference between your costs, your $14 minimum wholesale, and
right.
whatever price you put in here. So if you put, I don't know, because a lot of times it's not an even number. Like this says $14, but 9 out of 10 times it's not an even number, right? If I put in here 2 pounds, it's $9.96. So the difference between, let's say I put in here $12.95 or something, well, that's going to be a loss. But if I put $14.95 for a 2-pounder, this just tells me there's a $4.99 difference between my cost and what my retail is. But the thing is, though, is wholesale pricing does not take into the commission. It doesn't add commission in it because I don't have commission on wholesale.
Gotcha.
So that's what this one does. This minimum retail price is this right here, just adding commission in taxes and commission. So my minimum I could sell this for is right here, which $14.61 for a 2-pounder. With the numbers we're looking at over here, right? Once again, you make more honey, and that number goes down. So now, we're talking a different ball game. It's $1 less if I make 500 extra pounds this year with the same expenses.
That's why it's really important that you know your area so you maximize 80 to 100 pounds per hive.
I have a question though, Robert.
You want to get 100 pounds per hive.
You know what? I salute you if you're making that kind of 80 to 100 pounds, because in 6 years I've never made more than 50 pounds per hive. Now, granted,
Well, if you put less hives out there, you'll get more pounds per hive.
That's what I'm working on this year. I'm going to take my hives and distribute them over I have 3 properties right now. I had 85 hives this year. I was only on 3 properties. So I'm going to distribute those out to about 6 properties this year.
Right. I don't like running more than 20 hives per area, just because if I run 30, I'm losing 10 pounds, 15 pounds per hive, but I got cost for 30 versus cost for 20.
Yeah,
It's a bigger
and that's
number.
the thing I've been seeing. I've been seeing the more hives I put in. So, for example, the first year I had 12 hives, and I did produce like 60 to 70 pounds a hive. The second year at those locations, I went from like 12 to 20, and my yields went down to like 40 pounds. And then
Right.
year I was
Right. You maxed out. You already maxed out your area of too many hives in that area.
I went to 30 this year roughly in every yard, and I went down to like 30 pounds a hive.
Right. You need to be 15 hives per area
Yeah, max.
to make more profit,
Yeah,
because you're making more honey per hive.
right. And that makes a big difference. Like you do these calculations, because like here, I mean, just looking at this, like we did 40 hives earlier, and you do, let's say I had 40 hives 2 years ago. I made 1,650 pounds, and that was only at like, what's the math on that? So if you take 40,
About
1600
400 average, old buddy.
you take that 1,650 and you just divide it by the 40, that's 41 pounds is what I made per hive. If I could have
Right.
got that up to double that, I mean, so right now, here's where I'm going with this. If I do 1 pounders here, let's jump back for a second. If I do 1 pounders, my minimum expense would have been $5.47 a piece. However, and then my retail would have been $8.96. But if I would have made double that, that's 3,200 pounds. Well,
Right.
my minimum just dropped by over $1.
Right. Right. Right.
That's huge. If you're trying to compete with somebody, in your area, that could be the difference between making a profit and losing a profit.
Yeah. My goal in every one of my hives is 1 deep and 2 mediums full of honey every year per hive.
So
And if it's less than that, then I got too many hives in that area.
Yeah,
That's basically about 100. That's 90 to 100 pounds per hive if I can get a deep and 2 mediums full.
Yeah, this year, like I said, I'm definitely going down to like 12 max per. That's going to be my new max. Go ahead, Phil. Go ahead.
I mean, talking about how much you can make per hive, I like Tom's point in that, but I'd like to get back to how you're dealing with your retailers.
Okay.
Because you have to consider, yes, you have to consider your costs, but you also have to consider what their goals are. Because how are they obtaining their honey now, and what are they charging for it?
So they have it's going to be different per one, right? But the retailer, I have a orchard and I have a retailer that I'm dealing with right now that want my honey or want to discuss selling my honey for me. The retailer, they have 2 or 3 other companies they're selling honey for right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so I'm going to assume that they're going to expect me to price compete, but I know what they're selling it for. It's less than what I'm going to offer it to them.
Right.
So they may tell me to go pound salt. I don't know, but we'll find that out.
Or they might put yours on the shelf at a higher price and see what happens.
Yeah, that's usually what that's what they do for me, Robert. For when I first started selling mine, I sold mine for $1 to $1.50 more than everybody else. And they probably sold more than I did, but now I sell more than they do. But they raised their price up to my price.
And the other part
in a year or two.
On 1 pounders, I offer typically a 30%.
If you need me to put that chart back up, just tell me. I'll put
No,
it
you're
up.
fine. So I typically try to, on 1 pounders, I offer a 30% commission, but on 2 and 3 pounders, I'm at 25%. That's my maximum, because there's just, the higher the poundage, the more they expect you to reduce the percentage. And so I'm basically taking the reduction out of their commission.
See, we do 20 to 25% discount depending on how much they purchase.
Yeah, I do 25 straight. I only have one retailer that sells mine, and it's
Yeah.
a small amount.
We do have certain products though that we don't discount at all. Like we don't discount cream honey, we don't discount our bourbon honey, and we don't discount our honey straws. I don't know where I cut off there. So our bourbon
tell
honey,
you.
our creamed honey, and our honey straws we do not discount.
I
and
want to tell you.
Cutcomb either.
Yeah, let me tell you something, Melissa. If people will put that bourbon honey on the pecan ice cream,
Yeah,
man, oh man,
there you go, JW.
oh man, talk
Tastes
about
like buffalo shit to me.
Yes. So Robert, I sell probably 75% my 1 pounders wholesale, and I sell them for $10.50.
Wow. That's what they're retailing on the shelves right now for one.
They retail for 15 on the shelf,
We keep
roughly.
Wow.
I can't
That's
in
impressive.
Ohio. I can't tell them what the price for them to put on retail. It's
Yeah.
illegal.
Right. I know.
They usually go $14.99, $14.99, $15, and I'm going to be raising it probably.
For what is that for, Mac? I cut off and I didn't hear you.
1 pound.
In
1
glass
pound.
in glass or plastic?
Plastic. I do $11.50 for glass for 1 pound. I charge them more for glass just because I tell them glass is more expensive, and it is for 1 pound.
Yep, definitely.
Well, okay. So if we're doing that, I'll just give you this is retail now. This is not wholesale pricing. But so for glass, you're looking at, and once again, this is through B Supply Retail or Blue Sky. Sorry, Blue Sky. The 1 pound glass with lid is $1.01, and then Joe, you want to throw this up again just for
Yeah,
the
hang on.
conversation? It might be easier to visually see it than me to sit there and explain it. But if you look right here, this is what your cost would be for a 1 pounder with the front and rear label, and then if you put a cap label over it, cap seal, because some of the glass ones you have to have caps. You're supposed to have a cap seal or a shrink wrap.
Right.
But if you went with a shrink wrap, I think it'd be a little bit less. Yeah, it's 7 cents. So your total cost for glass is $1.38. What do you think it is for a plastic bottle?
It's a little less. $1.03, $1.05. Actually, I got it down to 90 cents.
It's
Yeah,
it's 78 cents if you
right.
don't have any of the adders on it. So you're only saving 50. What is that? Was it 50 cents? Is that what we said?
Yeah, but I charge them $1 more because they don't know that.
Right. Yeah, that's my point. So you're so it was $1.31 versus the
I make more profit selling glass,
78, 50 cents.
50 cents.
Yeah, so you're making a 50-cent profit by using the glass, and the glass is better. I mean, for you, it's a hell of a lot easier for glass, in my opinion, because if you need to rewarm it or anything, you don't have to worry about the plastic deforming or any kind of weird shit that happens, and then the labeling and stuff like that. So anyway, I just want to point that out. Like if you're trying to figure out your, bottling into that,
Right.
it's
I didn't
not-
put mine on a spreadsheet, but I put mine down on a piece of paper, and I knew what my cost was about.
Yeah. So that's all I had, Joe. You can clear that.
And I usually buy enough bottles for 2 years at one time.
Yeah.
2,000 bottles a time.
Yeah, that helps. It really does. That brings your cost down, not quite half, but it's considerable. It's probably 40%.
It's a lot,
Yeah.
right?
Same with your lids. Lids are the same way. If you can get those in mass, they sell them in 100, 300, and 2,000. So if you can buy the 2,000, it's quite a bit cheaper.
Right. Yeah, they'll give you a discount.
Right.
And if I buy my bottles from U.S. Plastic, it's a 2-hour drive, and I can shave all the shipping, so my cost even goes down.
Yeah. Well, I use Blue Sky only because they sell Gamber container equipment, and the Gamber's cheaper, but by the time I pay the shipping, it's cheaper to drive up to Blue Sky and pay their lack better retail pricing.
Right.
I don't understand that exactly, but that's reality.
Right.
So
Yeah, I bet you they're driving from eating too.
Yeah. They've been eating a while.
but anyway, I'm going to get off here in a second. But is there anything else, you guys, comments that you think that I should add into this before I toss it out to the world?
I think you've got pretty close. Yeah.
The only thing that I would add, like if you were wanting to get a more accurate of like what you need to make or whatnot, is if you put those value added item, something on there for value added items. That way you really know like what your bottom line, what you need to make or.
Yeah, I think his point, Melissa, was just to price the honey.
Right.
Just honey.
It's a tool only
You
for
have to
pricing.
put another sheet, do another sheet in the
That's true.
background to do each for nukes, for cream
Yeah.
honey, and
It's
then
okay.
add
You
that
guys
into the honey.
Right.
You can add whatever you want.
Yeah.
I
You
did.
hit the link
What's that? Sorry, Tom.
between the sheets, but you can do that in Excel.
Yeah, I'm just glad all those numbers you were throwing out. I sell my honey for way more than any of those prices you put out there. So.
Well, like Tom just said, if he's getting lack better, or not him, if the retailer is getting $15, that's, he's like 3 hours from me in South, right? But
Yeah.
a lot of the places I'm referring to are in Central Ohio and Cleveland area, and
$12.
they're only at like 11 something per pound. That's why I'm around $12 a pound per my math. My math.
I know both of the beekeepers that compete with me in the stores, and I talked to them. I said, "Why are you giving your honey away? How much are you spending on chemicals? How much are you spending on this?" And
They don't
they
know.
looked at me, and when they saw that I was selling my honey, they raised their prices up pretty much to match me. And I'm going to raise them again because I'm not making a whole lot of money. Honey's not cheap. Beekeeping's not cheap.
Well, you've seen those numbers. Your profit margin, you're selling it for 15,000 is what we just said, right? If you're selling it at 1 pounders, blah, 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 and you're paying a 30% commission, if you had 1,500 pounds, your total retail is 15,000, but you're only making $876 after you pay commission,
I
tax.
think you had I got 25. So that's the key. Key is getting 80 pounds plus per hive to make money.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a game changer.
Or like I'm trying to do is go lower cost treatment of my hives. That's expensive, treating your hives. People don't realize
It's
how
hard
much
to get
it
that
is.
amount out of a colony down here these days. Several years ago, that wasn't a problem, but now your average is maybe 60 pounds.
I think last year we averaged about between 50 and 60 pounds of honey a hive.
And it used to be nearly double that down here in these areas when we had a lot of farmers and everything.
We had a lot of rain though.
I know a lot of guys in my area that they get anywhere from 80 to 100 pounds on average. But my problem is obviously I've got too many bees in one yard. But every year, the more hives I get, the less honey I get. So I know the problem. It's just more of a distribution problem for me. I've got to, and I got people that are willing to give me the yards. I just got to take the time to run to 6 yards or 8 yards versus 3.
All right. Well, then your cost driving and your gas cost goes up a little bit.
Bad, Richard.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Todd's got ants cost, treatment cost.
I'm going to be like, sort of like Mike Berry, but I'm going to say something like, "Good afternoon, everyone. This is Todd. I keep ants." That's what I'm going to say.
All right. Well, I'm gonna let you guys talk. I just want to get on there and throw that out there, and I'll drop it. I can drop it in the chat, even possibly. How's that work?
I don't know.
I don't think I can. You can't drop a link.
No, you can
No,
send
you
it to
can't.
you can send it to Joey and Joey can drop it. I think that's the only way.
How do I send it to Joey?
There's a private chat.
Yeah.
You might be able to put it in that private chat over there.
Okay. Let me see.
Been off soon too.
Well, where you been eating at today? All
We
day.
went to Edgewild, which
I want to
is
know.
it was Edgewild. We went out to eat with two of my cousins and their husbands, and we had I had a tenderloin steak trio with creamed spinach and mashed potatoes. And what did you have, Thomas?
I didn't get anything to eat. She wouldn't let me, and we
No.
were broke.
He had some sort of chicken with some Dijon something and mashed potatoes. And then he had a cookie and ice cream for dessert. It was
I
delicious.
didn't ask you your life history. I just asked you where
It
you
was
went to eat.
delicious.
Hey, JW, I'd like to invite you over to St. Louis, and Melissa will take us both out to eat. How about that?
Hey, Robert, you'd have to add an extra expense just for them. Your food expense.
And I charged my fuel off. If I come over there.
Yeah, you can do that.
What's this?
I'm gonna have to put your guys' what's that called? Knobby or whatever. I'll put that expense in here. That's gonna jump your guys' honey cost from like $4 a pound to $17 a pound.
That ain't no lie.
We got to send.
Well, Robert, I figured if I sold mine for $100 a pound and lived to be about 140, I might get even.
There you go.
Now, Robert, that's just
What I've spent over the years.
business, right?
What's that?
I said going out to eat and doing that. That's just the cost of doing business.
Hey,
Right.
there's a
Yep.
call. Phil,
I used to.
call.
If you talk about bees, it's the right on.
Yes, sir.
I used to.
Did.
Nabby's a write-off for me. Part of my doing business.
I tell people that if you're buying your honey from somebody that has a couple of hives in their backyard, you're not paying them $200 a pound. They're losing money.
Right.
Melissa
You put that down.
we had this discussion not but here the last couple of days was reevaluating us selling 5-gallon buckets of honey and what we're charging and so I mean I would say by and large in 2024 if you made more honey in 2024 you're probably the exception to the rule, right? I don't care where you're in the country, but by and large, and painting a broad stroke here, most people's production was not up in 2024 for either excessive rain in the spring and or drought, which we caught both of those. And I think a lot in Ohio experienced that same thing. Down in Texas, sounds like, so I'm not sure about Todd out there in California, what his looked like for that. That could be a little different.
A little bit.
But
I was 33% down on the total for the year.
So, I mean, think about it, how much that would affect your bottom line per Robert's spreadsheet that you have going on there, that's pretty massive. And, the thing about it is we don't have any control over that. You can try to manage in a certain way, but you don't know what, 3, 4, 5 months ahead is going to happen. And I mean, JW did this his entire life. That's agriculture and farming, I guess.
Jerome, don't be bragging to everybody here.
Yeah.
He's the exception, right?
I finally am making about as much honey as Darren is, but I have to run 10 more colonies to do it.
We had a freeze.
He's running 30 and I'm running
10
40.
days later, the record last year.
Yeah, that'll be
in the
the
Ohio Valley. Usually Mother's Day is the last day for a freeze ever on record, and we had it on the 23rd.
So around here, it seems like people are running out of honey right now because we've had several beekeepers in the last 2 to 3 weeks buying buckets from us.
Huh.
Yeah.
There
So
was a individual on one of the last couple of nights talks, and I can't remember whose it was, but they were specifically saying that they sell almost all their bulk honey in the spring. I'm getting really bad.
Yeah, get some feedback.
Hey guys, I'm gonna hop off.
night.
Thanks.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
They were saying that they had commercial people in their area, and they make all their profit in they basically hold all their honey until the spring, or at least like late winter, because the commercial guys all leave town in the February timeframe to hit the almonds, and so that commercial pressure drops, and then all the local guys have ran out of their honey by that point. So then they can charge a premium on all their buckets. So their honey, and I don't remember their exact number, and I don't want to, but it was just for a number. They said that the normal person was selling it for $4 a pound. They're getting almost $5 a pound because they're waiting until spring. So it's almost a marketing strategy where they're able to clear out all their honey in the early, late winter, early spring. For premium. And that was interesting because I have a bunch of honey left over this year. It's the first year I've really ran this much surplus. So I've got about 2,000 pounds I've got to do something with.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking I'm going to sell some bulk to local beekeepers, and it will be at a wholesale price, but a higher than average. Wholesale.
And that was kind of what we were talking about too, capitalizing on the shortfalls of what's happening. Because we had, and our business plan is more or less just trying to capitalize off of the retail side, not really wholesale. And I would say our wholesale costs really aren't doesn't really reflect the actual wholesale market. That's just my wholesale cost, if you will. But because of what we sold here just in the last, I don't know,
2 weeks,
few weeks, what have you. I told Melissa, I'm like, I think we need to reevaluate this just a little bit, because I'm only going to sell off so many 5-gallon buckets, because my goal still in the end, and Brian Zavada and us have talked about this a lot in the past, is to continue in the retail side and keep our customers supplied 12 months out of the year, regardless. So I just have to figure out where that lies at, exactly what we're going through.
Because how much are we selling it per pound in a 5-gallon bucket right now?
$6 a pound.
See, that's a premium, really. So that's pretty good, because I think our area, well, I can do the quick math for you, but in our area, I think it's $2.15 for a 5-gallon bucket.
Yeah.
So in that 5 gallons, 60 pounds. So that's $3.58.
Yeah.
So if you're getting 6, I mean, that's
we're
fantastic. I mean, why would, in my opinion, why would you even have retail customers if you can get $6 a pound?
Because retail we sell it for $12.
But still, when we just looked at, put the numbers into the calculator, I'm telling you from doing this over the last few days, you're not going to see profit. There's a big difference between retail, like I was showing you a minute ago. If you look at your 1-pound bottles and you're selling them for $10, you have 1,500 pounds, you're selling for 1-pound bottles, and you're selling for $10 a piece, it's $15,000. But if you look at your net profit after all of your expenses, you probably are going to find that minus the bottles, minus the labels and the labor and whatever, you're probably making as much, if not more, doing the 5 gallon or the $6 a pound.
Yeah. Well, the other thing though in our area was selling it per 5-gallon the buckets is finding the customers to buy it. You know, in the amount of honey that we produce.
Yeah.
So I know that we've moved quite quite a bit of them in 5-gallon buckets this year, but not nearly
We're
enough
still
to
selling
get
more
rid
on the
of.
retail side.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would kind of like to look at it. So kind of diversifying a little bit, I guess, if you will. I'd like to continue to keep retail customers, but also supply my own wholesale cost, if you will. That way, again, if one market starts, and it's very unlikely that the retail side is going to dry up, right? It just, we produce less honey in America than when we consume. So it's likely that that would probably never happen. But
plus this year, right? If these guys are talking, all these guys are blowing up YouTube about the death rate right now.
Yeah.
Of the honey, these commercial honeybee, well, what do you call those pollinators?
Mm-hmm.
Those, they're losing whatever it was. I think it was like 80% nationwide.
Yeah.
On these pollinators. It's crazy.
Yeah. And Brian kind of brings up a point there too. Like we sell a lot of other value added items also, like the bourbon honey and the cream honeys and the candles and
lip balms and
lip
such.
balms and all that stuff too. So
yeah,
that kind of,
but that shouldn't affect your honey pricing, in my opinion, because just because you make more money, unless you're trying to intentionally do a loss adder, like Costco, right? Costco has a loss leader item, which is their rotisserie chickens. They basically own the chicken farms. They force these people into really shitty contracts, and they liquidate these chickens, rotisserie chickens, for less than basically it costs. But they do that to get people into the store for these items. And that there are certain items, and maybe if that's what you're doing, you're saying, look, I'm going to sell honey, and I'm going to sell it at a, almost cost or closer to cost. But I'm going to make money on these other items because people are coming to me. So that's one thing. But if you're just saying, well, I've got these other items I sell too, and I make a big profit on those, well, that shouldn't affect your honey price. Your honey price should be your honey price based on what your expenses are to produce that honey, because that item, in my opinion, stands alone. The fact that you're selling something else, that's gravy, and that's great that you're able to do that, but that shouldn't affect your pricing for your honey. But like I said, that's my 2 cents. I mean,
yeah. No, I understand what you're saying, and I agree with that. But again, we're still trying to tap into that market that allows us to move these other products and actually increase our profit margins across the board. Because bottom line is we still have wax, right? You're still going to end up with wax. So you have to figure out what to do with that, whether you're going to take that and wholesale it off in blocks, or you want to then now add more value to it and create a candle out of it. And the fact that we still go to markets, and we're probably at this point in time, we're still going to continue to do that. And what's another thing that we kind of don't really evaluate or consider into that factor is we build an immense amount of contacts off the retail side alone. Every one of my bee yards I've gotten was probably from, well, I maybe not everyone, but I'd say probably 90% of them I've gotten off of when we were selling honey retail. I've gotten contacts for new bee yards, everything from we're potentially getting ready to start marketing to a hotel chain here in St. Louis, which is now opening up doors and opportunities for not only selling them bulk honey for their menu items, but also doing add-on stuff for like parties that they may host. But also now they're looking at us adding hives to the rooftop and a service contract based or on top of that too. So I'm really trying to capitalize a lot more just on that retail side.
Yep, I agree with that.
Joey, I can't drop that link or that file. Do you have can you post an email in your private chat there, and I'll send it to your email? Or if anybody wants a direct copy, drop your email. And,
do you do Facebook?
Yeah, I'm not good at it. I don't.
Joey,
really. I use my.
Yeah, the other thing that
I just put ours in there, Robert.
Can you just type it in the comments?
It's not letting him because it's a link.
Oh.
No, it's file. I was going to drop a file.
Yeah, so
you can't do that.
Oh, so
you probably have to do it in Facebook.
You'd have to email it to him, and then he can load it.
Yeah, if you send me, Joey, put your email on that, and then if you don't mind, and then I'll.
But Melissa's got hers in the private chat there.
Okay.
Yeah, just send it to me and I can send it to Joey.
Sure.
Or I can try to post it because I think I'm signed in on Joey's thing actually.
No problem.
Yeah, I'd like to add to what Tom and Melissa were saying. It's the contacts, and it's also the opportunities you have if you think beyond the lip balms and candles and whatnot. I mean, look at Brian at Flower Street. You know, the hand creams. You could even sell honey roasted pecans. You could sell. I was sitting there with Noah. I started putting a drop of. I started putting a drop of peppermint essential oil in my tea, which is awesome. Just the smell of it. If you had tea with honey and the peppermint that people could add, you wouldn't even have to charge. You just put a little tip jar out to help you cover the cost, and you'd probably make money on stuff like that. But being there and having the honey brings in people for all kinds of reasons. And if you're going to say, "Oh, I can make more money by selling it wholesale," you're going to miss out on a lot of those opportunities.
Well, and I have, and I don't think Tom does either, have any problem selling as much wholesale as we can. We just want to make sure that we have enough throughout the year to service our customers.
Yes,
you know,
you're losing
without
money.
running out.
You're losing money if you're selling it wholesale and you're running out of your retail.
Yeah, because my thought is that if I hold back honey to make those value added items, and I was just selling those, which is great, people are still wanting liquid honey from us. If I run out of liquid honey, then that customer becomes somebody else's customer.
I just bottled my last bucket of Richland honey, and I got like 50 jars that I'll sell for $16 a piece. That's $800 for that last bucket of honey. Now it's going to be hard to get it from $215 to $800, even with the $2 per jar labeling cost.
But like Tom Mack was saying, you know, how he buys so much and his bottles and all that in Access, we do the same thing. Like we try to bulk buy as much as possible so that you can get it for those lower prices. Or we've said it time and time again, we pre-order as much as we possibly can at Nobby, because not only are we getting like a bulk price, but we're also getting a discounted price because of it being Nobby on top of that. Thank you, Russell. So we try to plan ahead of like what our following year, what our next year is going to look like based on what happened this year. And we try to order accordingly so that we can get those discounts to help bring those overhead prices down.
Let me ask you guys what you think about this. I'm looking for ways to offer more services. One of the things I'm starting to offer is, you know, in Texas, we have that unique opportunity to help people with their ag exemption. So that's about, my price is $3,500, and that's from 6 to 10 hives, a little bit more if you go over that number. About 12 hives is the most anybody would ever need. But, and that's not going to make a whole lot of money because there's a lot of work and running around to these things, but I'll still get honey off of it. I'm also thinking about doing what Brian does, and for the longest time I couldn't figure out how he could charge so much, and then I got to thinking about how much work's involved, and I don't know how he can charge so little now. But you know, $1,500 per colony is about right, you know, and just to bother with even stopping by there and tearing into somebody's colonies. But what do y'all think about that, as offering a service just to be like the pool cleaner? Basically, you come around once a month and go through somebody's bees and make sure everything's okay.
So that's one thing that we're working on right now. We haven't really figured out what we're going to charge, because that's that hotel that we were talking about. They want us to put they used to have hives, and they since have gone away. So they want us to put hives back up there that are their hives and maintain them for them. So we kind of haven't decided what we kind of threw some numbers around, but not really sat down and talked about it.
And I think, you know, kind of like Robert had that spreadsheet plugging in numbers and his cost and such. I would have to, and obviously these numbers would change. If I had one hotel that is 30 miles away from me that I had to drive to, I'd have to make all considerations for that. But now if I can actually get, let's just say, 5 more locations within a very tight route density of that, now I can take one day or half a day, whatever I have to do with those hives at the timing of the year that's appropriate, and actually make a round where I spend part of the day once a week or once every 2 weeks or 4 weeks. Again, the timing of that's going to change throughout the year. And now I can actually have service contracts in a certain area that I can now capitalize on. So having more of those in one area is going to make it much more worth my while than having 2 hives. So we talked about, okay, if we service 1 hive for the hotel, it's going to have to be X amount of dollars, and it's going to be pretty heavy and pretty high. Now, if we then would take and say, okay, each additional hive will yield this much more, which would be a lot lesser amount because they've already covered our travel expenses and such. So we're trying to now work through that and figure out if that's even feasible for them, for one. And another thing, kind of tapping onto what you were talking about, Philip, was I've been thinking about over the last year, how do I extract more profit per each hive? And one thing that I was trying to come up with, and I'm trying to assess risk versus reward on this. And I've asked a lot of commercial guys and a few sideliners about what that looks like. And I would like to do some local pollination, semi-local, I'll say that, for myself to develop maybe another revenue stream. And I'm not sure what that looks like exactly. I'm still trying to work through that and figure out, what I can expect.
I'm going to interrupt your comment for just 2 seconds just to answer the question on the bottom of the screen there. And I think the answer for most people is going to be the expense of beeswax, the cost of producing your own foundation with beeswax doesn't typically work out. The math doesn't work, right? Typically, because here's the thing. You have to have, let's say, 40 hives before you produce enough wax to make foundation to cover enough hives. Because if you only have 10 hives, you're not making enough wax, in my opinion. You're not making enough wax to make foundations. If you've got 40 hives, you now have enough wax to make foundations for, say. However, the amount of time and effort it would take, you can't justify the benefit. So I personally can't understand how you would ever produce wax foundations cost effectively. The only reason why you would do that is if you wanted to do it so you could say you were doing it on wax.
Yeah.
Your own wax.
Right.
I have probably 1,000 frames with wax foundations. Probably more than that, actually. Probably 2,000 frames of wax foundations. Now, I got those wax foundations from somebody. I bought those. I did not produce them with my own wax. So cost-wise, it cost me a little more, but I don't produce enough wax to be able to do something like that. So I don't think it's feasible unless you're just trying to do it to have, so you can say you did it yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Conversation?
Yeah, there's going to be a point of diminishing returns on anything, right? When it comes down to the time, effort, and energy, or what you could sell the wax for wholesale, or what you reutilizing it for, as opposed to.
That all said, I use almost all my own wax. Like I said, this year I ran 85 colonies, but I don't produce the amount of honey these other guys do, but I use my wax to roll my frames with. So I buy my plastic foundations. I used to use the wax, but now I use plastic and I roll heavy with my wax, and that usually sucks up all my wax. At least
I buy the sheets of wax, the deep sheets of wax from like Dadant or somewhere, and I just cut like a 3/4 to 1 inch strip for my starter strips, and it cost me about 12 to 15 cents a frame.
There you go.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do something like that, you could absolutely use your own wax. But if you're going to make a full, if you're going to use a full size deep frame with wax, I can't see how it could financially benefit you.
I'll give you guys a dog update. Can you see him?
Living the good life.
He looks like he's really worried about it.
You got it made, don't he?
It wouldn't let me post it in the chat, so I just posted it on the No Life page. And
Oh,
There you go.
once it,
I set the trap for him. Now we got it. Now we finally going to get the goods. We've been working for 30 minutes to try to get the answers, and here they are.
You've been fishing, huh?
That's right.
Hey, Brian.
Hello.
One
How's
question.
everyone doing?
One question, Brian. Did
Yeah.
Melissa or did Jen's situation change the last time we talked?
Yes, Todd. It took a couple of days, but yes, absolutely.
Good, good, good.
Yeah. So what Todd is asking about is, did my wife get the nerve up to put her notice in for her job that she doesn't like, and she did.
Wow, how exciting is this?
congratulations, Jen.
Yeah, so I'll pass on that good energy to her. You know, change is really hard for her, and you know, she was working up for a while, but she did get to that place.
How much of a notice did she give? Like, is she going to be free when we come up there?
Well, she's already got another job, Melissa, so hopefully she's already started her other job.
I thought her other job was working with you.
Well,
I thought that was the goal, is so she could quit and do the honey
She
thing
doesn't
with you
like
full
she doesn't
time.
like Brian that much.
no, not that much. One step at a time. So she's not quite ready for that, but she
Oh, okay.
definitely did have to leave the world of education. So she's gone into the private sector, is going into the private sector, but I just see this as one more step down that path, Melissa.
Okay.
I have patience.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes the timing's not right, though. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I think doors of opportunity open and they close for a reason. And I let things ride like that. Some people may not kind of, think that that's logical or realistic, but that's kind of how I try to live my life. Is sometimes when a door closes, I try not to force it back open because there might be a reason behind that.
Yeah, we've been lucky or blessed, to whatever you want to say, to be able to have, whatever doors close and open work out for us so far. So, I have faith that we're on the right path. We'll figure it out from there.
That's good.
Yeah. But I do want to say, Robert, I love how you're thinking about expenses. I see so many beekeepers not even add up the expenses and put their costs into different columns. And I were to say, if you take anything away from what Robert was showing us tonight, is it's the power of what data can inform you with, and how much data you prefer to mine is up to you. But that data is definitely informative. I was talking to Carl in the chat. I had a gut feeling of how our year went this year, and there were times that I had the feeling that we had overcommitted to events that prevented us from having enough product at those events at the busy parts of the year. And I really felt that impacted, first of all, our happiness during those weeks, as well as our bottom line. So I, at one point, kind of mapped out everything from our season, how we did in our Saturday farmers market, how we did in our Sunday farmers market, and just mapped out sales, total sales, and then overlaid all those special events on top of those. And to see the impact of those special events on just our regular market weekends was really interesting to see. You get the gut feeling of how something went, and then you get the data to match it up. So, Robert, I do want to commend you on that. That idea of data as being information. If you are so business inclined, and it's okay to not be, if you go into beekeeping just to enjoy yourself, feel free to not do the math and, stare at the clouds instead of an Excel sheet, but you got to understand that, that's different people have different goals but I like that idea of, knowing how much money you spent on sugar last year. I think that's important to know as a beekeeper.
Yeah, and then you can also, if you want to play with the numbers there too, you can use it for just like a guesstimation, like if you had 50 hives and you were running medium supers and you got an average yield, this is how many pounds you should be expecting. Now, once again, it's farming, so good luck with that. Because I have yet to see an average year, but a lot of people do. A lot of people see exception, high yields. But those calculations on that spreadsheet, if you look in that top left there, it's going to have in there just like what the average is for, or what an average frame can yield, right? With average, high, low, whatever. But that's the most you can pack into a box. So anyway.
So Brian.
Yes, sir.
Could you give us an update on some of your kind of side things besides just selling at markets?
Yeah.
Some of your consulting type work?
Mm-hmm. You just want me to go over everything that I do beyond that beekeeping part? And this is part of
what you do, what you want to do more of, what you wish you hadn't done, what you're getting away from, whatever.
And this is part of the thing that Robert's Excel sheet doesn't include. If you have a beekeeping business, all those inputs that go into the cost of an apiary that you put into a spreadsheet on how to make honey, those are inputs that are going into my business that are reaping outputs for me in different ways. Just the fact that I've got 50 colonies and I'm working them all year allows me to have experiences that other people don't have. So even if I walk away with no honey from those, I can still have, like, I do consultation, I do education. Those are income revenue streams that I have as part of my business, no matter what the year is. I manage people's colonies. Right now, I have one, let me count them out, one client. I have 4 colonies there, and I've been managing their colony for 4 years. And I have an annual fee for my colonies, and every contract is a little different, but most of them also lead to more business or services through either that customer or a neighbor or something like that. So even if you're costing out that I'm charging this much per hive, chances are it's going to lead to other business as well.
On that note, Brian, when people are doing their estimations, whatever it is, if you're going to pay for let's say you want to do the hog half or something like that, or whatever they're called, the half rounds or whatever. If you're going to buy something like that and you're going to throw it on top of that hive, you don't want to include that cost into your honey cost, because we're talking about your liquid honey costs, not your apiary costs. Your apiary costs and your honey costs can be 2 different things. Like with you, with an operation, you have to divide your costs, your bee costs, over every aspect that you do a little bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Dump it all into the honey, because if the honey is 60% of your business, then you need to account for 60% of that equipment or whatever.
Or I also need to be flexible enough to have flex in my business for good years and bad years of all that. Here's another thing too. Being able to sell honey at a market allows me to go to the Bee Expo, buy beeswax in bulk, turn it into candles, and quadruple my money, right? Just the fact that I'm a beekeeper and have all those other inputs allows me to stand in a booth and say, I'm a beekeeper and I made these beeswax candles.
Right. So you can't count that kind of stuff into your liquid honey expense. You have to, when you get into
interject here a little bit, fellas. You guys are talking all these dollars and cents. I'm sure that everyone here, all you guys being in a semi quote unquote cash business, them spreadsheets ain't worth a damn if you're not claiming all your receipts.
Yep.
After your honey sales.
I
doubt there's one sitting in this chat, one person that can say that they are turning in all their receipts.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a spot in there, like I told you too, like I put in there a percentage for taxes, because everybody's taxes are going to be completely different. You know what I mean? And the closer you come to if you are writing this stuff off, right, that's a whole different game. Like you don't need to, if you have, like Brian, he may be able to write off, lack of better, 100%. I don't know. Let's throw something out there. So his expense may be zero compared to somebody else that is, if you are selling to a retailer and they're going to, I don't know, Brian, you might know the term, but if they're going to 1099 you or whatever they give you, if you're going to do that and you have to count 100%, that's different, right? That's all going to be up to each individual and their circumstance. But the point of the matter is, you do need to figure out, only include what your costs are for your actual honey. Don't include your business. If your business includes candles and wax and services and whatever.
Y'all see this question Russell's got here? Do you write off your equipment expenses over time, 5 years or more? I'm wondering if he's asking about like depreciating it, just like we would do farm equipment.
Yeah. You would have to.
That's a good question.
You can do that.
I had an uncle said he depreciated his tractor one time so much he had to drag it around to crank it. But
And I'll just say,
I think on big,
as Mr. JW said, those receipts. And I learned something different every year from my tax lady. But it's just like going to the expo. All that, where it's a hobby, if you're making any money and you're claiming it, all those receipts, all those things go into Navi. And she gave me some advice. She said, print out the schedule of all the classes or all the talks they do. Have that as a backup to show that you're going to these to learn your hobby or your job. And every bit that's right. The meals. I didn't even know this until a year or two ago. She said every time you go eat a meal, save your receipt.
I bet you
I did all that.
Tom off down there, didn't you, Joey?
Sir?
You probably charged me and Tom off.
Well,
Hey, I hope you did.
I had expenses. I didn't forget what she called it, but I had to sit there and listen to two people talk back and forth to each other. And she had a name for it. She said, yeah, you can write that time off too.
yeah.
So the best way I've been able to keep track of my expenses is when we started our business, we got a separate checking account that had a separate card.
Yeah.
And anytime I bought anything through the business, it went on that card. There's business money and there's personal money, and every expense goes through that business card. So I don't have to keep it in my wallet. It's just going onto that card, and I have that record of it there. And then later I put it into the account it needs to.
The other thing too, when you're doing that spreadsheet, for example, I don't care if it's spreadsheet, piece of paper, whatever, just because you bought, earlier we were talking about Joey and stuff, but if you bought, you spent $10,000 on framework this year, but you only do that every 5 years, and you're not going to say, okay, I spent $10,000 this year and I have to get that money back this year out of my honey, because the market's going to limit what you're able to sell for, just because your expenses are more than what they should be. And any new beekeeper is going to see that, because you start out, lack of better, you start out with 5 or 10 hives, let's say, and you buy an extractor and uncappers and blah, 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 whatever it is you're buying, you're never going to get that back on that ball of honey. You got to, that's just to say, putting the math in there, I don't care if it's on paper or a spreadsheet, but you have to come up with you still have to be in the market, right? You still have to keep yourself in the market. That the only reason why I built this is because I'm trying to give a more accurate quote to my retailers. So I am priced
back
losing
to
money.
Russell's question, is there a time write-off like that? The 5 years?
7 years, I think, is what it is. By if I'm
Depends
right.
on the product. You can write most of that smaller stuff. It's less than a couple thousand, like extractors and stuff like that. Joy 1 year, first year.
Yeah.
Depends on what you need. A good accountant that knows what the
I always have to call mine and ask.
depreciation schedule, because I've got one that's quite extensive, and you just some of it you write off in 1 year, some of it you may want to stretch out, depending on your personal.
And the reality is, if you're not selling that much honey, you're not even going to have write-off, because even though you technically paid for those expenses, you don't, you have a job. Your job is going to offset it, and depending on where your tax bracket is, your write-off may be nothing. It may not even, you may be on a 1040 EZ. So you got to know your own personal situation. But anyway, I think that we've kind of kicked this horse to death, but
so Philip, I want to go back to your question.
Yeah, I want to get back on track and quit talking about numbers. I want to talk about experiences again.
Yeah, so
you guys are
don't interrupt, Robert.
I want to talk about. Let's talk about Todd Prater's love life.
I didn't mean to make Robert mad and make him leave. I was enjoying that.
You did not
leave for an hour.
You did not rub any of your luck off on me, JW. Zero.
Well, I'm sorry, old buddy.
He doesn't kiss and tell, all right? So you're not getting any stories.
Man, we went from accounting to smut.
I give her my best shot.
Philip, he's trying to derail your serious, conversation here.
I've been waiting for months for Brian to give us an update.
So right now I have 6 clients, and I manage like 10 colonies for those 6 different clients total, and that's separate from the solar farm. One thing Robert mentioned, which is true, like that honey thing is totally an add-on. So I charge an additional, my annual fee does not include the extraction of honey, because the amount of work that's going to go into that part is going to be variable from year to year.
Yeah.
So my annual management includes all, managing that colony as if I would manage it as if it were my own. Any queen problems I'm going to fix, any nutritional needs it's going to get, any mite treatments it's going to get. But here's the thing, I'm also managing colonies for people that don't want more colonies than what they already have. So I'm also managing it for swarm prevention. So there are times in the spring where I'm pulling out brood for my own personal purposes and putting it, replacing it with foundation or drawn comb of my own. So I'm also getting that as a revenue source out of that colony as well. And I see that as making sure that those colonies don't end up swarming, right? That's part of my swarm management. That's just what I have to do to make sure that they stay where they're at. I charge, and you can look all this up on my website. These numbers aren't like a secret. I charge $1,100 annually for the first colony, and then $550 for any additional colony on that site. I also do the solar farm, and that's a multi-year contract where they pay me to have 20 colonies on that site. I'm also a consultant for. I just met with someone today. It's an organization called Go Farm. It helps like young farmer startups kind of connect with experts in the field, and I'm like the beekeeping mentor. So I get paid like consultation fee to meet with people who are interested in thinking about adding beekeeping into their farm. I do consultation as well. So I do a $90 consultation fee. That changes if there are more than 2 colonies, because we're going to be spending more time there. And that changes if it's outside of a particular geographic zone. If I have to go up to Evergreen, that's going to be more expensive. What am I missing?
Brian, I'm going to back up just for 1 second and ask a question.
Yeah.
You said $90 for consultation.
Yes.
To a specific area. Approximately how far of a distance is that?
In the Denver metro area.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want, if it's up, usually if it's up in the mountains, if it's up in Evergreen, it's an additional fee. If it's Boulder, it's an additional fee.
Mm-hmm.
If it's way out in Aurora by like the airport, you know how far out that was from my house.
Yeah.
If it's that far out, it becomes an additional fee. So maybe
yeah.
35 minutes, maybe that's around the border for driving time.
Okay. On the honey extraction part,
Yeah.
can you give us an example of how you've worked that out in the past?
Gosh, it's been totally different for every customer. I would kind of, it's also been different because I've made creamed honey for them as well. You know, I've prepared it for them. I've jarred it for them. So there's a fee for that I charge as well. So if you want it in a bucket, that's one thing. If you want it creamed, that's another fee. If you want it creamed in a jar, that's an additional fee.
Let me ask you a question. This
Yeah.
is just in my mind. I was thinking about offering very similar services.
Yeah.
And hope like heck that I didn't get a bunch of people with one colony, because that really doesn't sound like it's going to make much money.
Yeah.
But for the honey, I was thinking of offering them, I'll give you half the honey back to you in buckets.
So you're saying, hold on, can I clarify? Are you just offering extracting services, or is this part of the?
No. This would be part of. This would be for your customer that you have a contract with.
Okay.
I was just trying to come up with something that would be fair and be worth your. And there'd have to be a minimum. Obviously.
You may have to minimum.
One
Yeah,
box
that's
of
what I was
honey
about
is
to
still
say.
gonna
You may
be-
have to have a minimum on that, Philip,
Yeah, for sure. Have a minimum on it.
per distance anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, say it's one box of honey, you're still going to need $100 to even clean your extractor.
Sure.
So I don't know. Yeah, that's why I was looking for examples of how you've handled it.
Yeah.
What a couple here used to do, they had their own honey room, and they did it two ways. They would either extract the people's frames for them at a certain, I can't remember the percentage, but they would either want to keep a percentage of the honey they extracted, or if the people wanted all their honey, they would have to pay an amount for that percentage, what that percentage was worth. And I can't remember what it was. I don't remember if it was 25% or 10%. I don't know.
Yeah, but I doubt it was 10. That'd be a lot of work.
Yeah, that'd be low, especially if you now. They did it. I said they did it two ways. They did that part two ways, but they also allowed the people to come in and extract their own frames in their honey house for a percentage too. And that was, I think that might have been where the 10% came from.
Yeah,
they'd have to do the extracting and the cleanup.
Yeah, that would make sense.
That's a lot of variables in there.
Offhand, that practically about the only way you could charge for a service like that would be with the R, isn't it, Brian? I mean, it's going to vary by individual. You just have to charge an hourly rate for your time for extractions and stuff. There's no way.
That takes a lot of time.
That's what I was just trying to think of too.
It's going to vary by the condition of the. You go do it for the public. Some of them's going to have fully drawn frames, and some of them going to have wonky comb all over them and the whole bit, I think. So
that's one of the reasons I want nothing to do with that. I don't want to deal with other people's lack of experience with that crystallized honey or fermented or whatever. I have a buddy of mine who's been doing this. He had a customer who left 2 supers out in the front yard and then walked away with it. So my buddy gets home like an hour and a half later and it's getting robbed out.
Yeah.
By all his bees in his backyard.
Yeah.
So just stupid stuff like that. But going back to Robert's chart, all those inputs into those colonies, that's a way to make money if those colonies make 0 honey that year. So there's still ways to make money from your beekeeping business that aren't included on that chart, that you just can't price out all those costs across the board.
So when you're extracting honey for people, are you only doing that on hives that you manage, or are you doing that for anybody who asks you to?
No, I don't do that. I don't extract other people's honey.
I think I'd be asking for.
It's just the customer.
Just my thoughts.
Right.
You wanna hear something funny? There's a guy down in the high desert above LA. Well, first of all, have you guys ever heard of canna honey?
Maybe.
Like canna lilies?
No, like cannabis. Like cannabis honey.
Oh,
I didn't think that created a nectar. I didn't think that was a nectar source.
No. You take
No, it's
honey, you infuse.
Oh,
canna
infused. Yeah.
There's a guy down in northern LA County. He sells I was telling Matt this last week, it blew his mind. He sells 3.75 ounce, the little jars of canna honey for $118 and gets it every day.
Yeah, there was a guy. There was a guy here about, was it 2 years ago, Tom? Yeah. That bought a 5-gallon bucket of honey from us, and he shows up at our house to pick it up, and he's like one of the gave off the creeper vibe that looks like he sells items out of the back of his white van
down by the river. And anyway, he was nice, but anyway, he buys it. He tells us what he's going to do with the honey. He's like, "Do you guys care?" I'm like, "Well, I don't care so long as like you're not advertising that it's our honey, that we're making this, you know." And then he's like, "Oh, no." I'm like, "Okay, fine. You can do whatever you want with it then." I'm like, "I don't care." And you buy it, do it, or dump it in the trash. I don't care what you do with it.
But then he's like, "Oh, here's some stickers, you know, for my business." And what was the name of the business?
Oh my gosh, I should remember this.
But anyway, the stickers were like a pot.
JW's High Times or something like that.
I don't remember what it was. So it'll come to him. But the sticker was like a pot leaf with a chihuahua in the middle of it. And I'm like, I'm not doing anything. So I just threw it down on the entertainment center. I'm like, whatever. It's thank you. You know, I don't know what
was his name, Cheech or Chong?
No, but so a few days later,
he wasn't that put together.
A few days later, my nephews were over at the house, and at the time, I think my one nephew was only like
Tonics.
Tony's Tonics. So anyway, my nephew at the time, I think he was probably like 3 years old or something like that. He was little. And he sees kids like stickers. He sees the stickers sitting on the entertainment center. He's like, "Can I have this?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." So he takes a sticker and he just puts it on his chest. And he wore Tony's Tonic sticker all day that day. So that was an interesting interaction.
So let me just start by saying, I don't care what people do, how they infuse it, what they do with the personal time. It makes me no difference. I'm live and let live kind of guy, right? I don't care what you do. I just didn't want my name. You know, it can be kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say taboo. That's probably not the right term, but it can be, I don't know. It just. Well,
and I think it depends on the situation too. Tony's Tonics was not something that we would want in our branding.
No, he wasn't a very put together guy. That's all. And you know what? To each their own. You know, I hope this guy succeeds and makes more money than I do, but.
It was an interesting interaction with Tony.
Every year at the Bee Expo, Steve. Every year at the Bee Expo.
Correct.
Say again.
Did y'all see Misbehaving's comment? That was funny.
I said you did.
After up and smoke honey. She had an up and smoke honey.
Yeah.
You know? And you did let him have the honey, right? And you did take his money, right?
Yep.
He took the honey, and I took his money.
Was that the $50 or $75 that you stuck in your pocket that you didn't tell Uncle Sam about too, or was that?
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about.
Just don't go through the airport with that money in your pocket.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You'll have the dog sniffing your pocket in a heartbeat, right?
Ripple asked a question back a bit if I thought that fee was worth it for me. I do for a couple of reasons, Ripple. One is because actually most of those are clumped in one area, one part of town. So it makes my travel pretty easily. I had 1 year where I had one management where it was in the opposite direction, and it just wasn't worth it me going in that direction just for one. So I ended up not doing that the following year. I also get an income source at the beginning of the year. So at this time of the year where I'm not getting much as I'm not doing markets from January until May, I am getting some of those annual management fees in the beginning of the season. So that's paying my salary, bless you, for that beginning of the year. So that's helpful as well. And like I said, those contracts have led to other business as well. So it's paid off above and beyond just that annual management fee. So yeah, it's been helpful.
Well, and that brings up a good point. Like even our regular apiaries, like we have to have people are like, oh, I have land. Do you want to put bees on it? Like, well, we have to have a minimum amount of bees that we can put on it, which is we like to do 20, but we'll do 15, and it has to be within a certain distance of where we are, because otherwise it doesn't make sense time management wise or financially that you have to go 30 miles out this way to come 20 miles this way and another 15 miles that way. You're burning fuel and wasting time.
Yep.
Is that a service
I
you
keep
provide?
fuel receipts on anything that I do outside of my apiaries. But as far as just checking my hives, my colonies, as far as like gas receipts, my tax lady already, I gave her an average or how many times I visit each apiary and how many apiaries I have and how far they all are from my home. So
That's a
she
good
uses that as far as a general fuel usage. Now I have other gas receipts or diesel receipts for keeping the properties cleaned.
Mm-hmm.
That's totally different.
Mm-hmm.
And fuel for picking up containers and or going to an event where I may learn, like Nobby or whatever,
The
something
Nobby,
like
yeah.
that.
It's like 55, 60
it's-
cents a mile.
So there's layers of just fuel charges and receipts and everything.
I will give a little pointer of how I do my. I've been doing mileage because I have my own business for a long time, but for like down to the farm is like 95 miles one way, so that's significant at the end of the year. What I do is I try when I'm down there to buy gas or buy something at the farm tractor supply. Use the credit card basically. At the end of the year, I'll go back through my receipts, see where I went, and then I'll just use one of the online mapping programs to get the mileage and make a spreadsheet and turn it over to my accountant. And he thinks that's really good backup in case I ever get audited.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty accurate. So that's a
never
way
been
you don't
audited
have
on
to
that?
keep the little book in your car. You can go back at the end of the year and just check your credit card receipts.
You've never been audited? No one has ever been audited?
I've not been audited, knock on wood.
I've been audited 9 times since 1983. Never paid an additional penny. But I can tell you one thing: you better have a daily record on those of mileage on that if you're claiming it. I can tell you that if you go through audits.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. But I don't know, and I'm not saying this to be please don't be offended or smart aleck. I don't know how you guys come up with getting these people to pay you to do those services. You must be in is each one of you guys last name named Barnum? Are you offsprings of PT?
It's an urban area. There's people with lots of money that want those kind of services.
Hey,
they're also willing to pay a lot for honey and everything else.
JW, all I would say to you is don't hate the player, hate the game. All right.
Well, there's a lot of people get audited. I can tell you, especially if you got special businesses. But I just I think regressing in their conversation, you guys were talking about how many years you can not draw a profit. There's no limit on that, but you better be able to prove that it is you may have to prove to them that you your loser is a business and it's not a hobby. That's where they're going to come back at you at. I can tell you.
Exactly.
'Cause
Yeah.
I had several various business centers over the time, and I never showed a profit. Then my farm operations.
Yeah. Last year.
Pardon me.
My farm's always shown a loss because I didn't, a little bit of lease money from the neighbor for putting his cows, which is nothing basically. But last year when I turned in all my honey receipts, my accountant got really excited because I showed a profit and hadn't shown a profit in like 7 years. And he said, "Oh, this is great. He said, you made $4,000 on the farm this year." And I just kind of did my thumb. I was like, yeah, 4,000. That's what I made. Yeah.
You know what gets me? Now this is not taxes on beekeeping, but it was back when I was a construction electrician. If I worked here at home, I never got a deduction for the clothes I wore. I never got a deduction for the fuel that I used to go to work, where it was 20 miles or 50 miles. If I was living at home, somebody else, even if it was 100 miles every day, if I was at home, I never got a deduction for my lunch. I never got a deduction for the wear on my vehicle. But you let me go off where I had to stay in another building or rent or pull my camper, and then I got to deduct all my laundry. I got to deduct all my meals. I got to deduct all my fuel. I got to deduct everything or anything that had to do with work. It probably didn't cost me any more to stay there because I already had the RV that I lived in, or unless I had to rent an apartment or something. But every bit of that got deducted when I was traveling. But if I was at home, I didn't get to deduct none of that. None of it. I had to eat no matter where I was at. And the weird thing is the laundry. I kept I kept documentation on the laundry. It never the amount of laundry that I had to do never reached the minimum with no receipt. The meals that I kept documented on a calendar. How many meals that I purchased or groceries never met the minimum that I had to do when I was traveling. The fuels, even though I kept receipts, never met the minimum that I could do without receipts. That was the weirdest thing to me. So she said, keep your receipts in case you need them, but nothing I ever had or kept met those minimums. So she went with the minimums.
So Joey, you must have been like a contractor, right? When you were doing that kind of work.
I worked for contractors, but when I was traveling, if I was away from home, it just fell in another.
I was under the impression if you're working for somebody else,
or didn't pay you per diem, Joey.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
No per diems, no. No per diems. It was just.
I was about to say
expenses.
Yeah.
You were on the road.
So you kind of were a subcontractor for them.
Well, it might have been.
I don't know how to tax.
You should have just taken all the dirty laundry with you and gone grocery shopping when you were out of town.
Yep.
Well, there's it varies by different instances, but you can legally, in my humble opinion, you can legally only deduct the true business expenses. Legally, you can't deduct, like if you got a vehicle that you drive to a work location, you can't deduct that charge from home to that work location. Once you get there, then you can charge it off, and vice versa when you return home. Now, you can get by, and I'm not a tax attorney, but I've been there and done that a time or two. You can get by with certain things that, to a certain degree, with certain, if you don't happen to be that one that gets drawn out for an independent audit. But if you get audited, then you're gonna have to prove that. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you what, it ain't like they got to prove you wrong. You got to prove that
Yeah,
you're
you got to
right.
prove you're
And
not
go and
lying.
claim it after the fact. If you never get audited, no big deal. But I had enough
That's why she told
things
me.
going on, and I got audited quite a bit over the years. They can only audit you every 7 years. So
Probably that
That
is
will
probably
work.
that honest face that kept getting you audited every year.
Yeah. Smart aleck comments when they called him.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. His sarcasm.
well, I could tell you a story or two, but we won't go into there. We've been on here 3 hours and 5 minutes and 6 seconds.
So,
7, 8, 9 seconds.
3 hours, 5 minutes, and yeah, good gracious.
14 seconds now, 15.
here, Steve asked this question. What's your opinion, Brian?
From a liability standpoint, the answer is yes.
For my business purposes, absolutely. Depends on your goals. You know, if you're going the business route, absolutely. From my business purposes, now, I have had talks with people saying maybe for what we're doing, a sole proprietorship is the right way to go versus an LLC. So that might be something you want to look at. But as far as liability purposes, yeah, I couldn't even get into events without having an LLC, which I needed liability insurance for.
Really?
So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Never
most events you need to call your insurance company and get their name like put on it as well, and they need a
Right.
copy of it.
Additionally insured is what they're looking
Yeah.
for.
I mean, we've had that, but we've not ever had any require us to be incorporated or an LLC, but they have
No,
required.
I think I needed to be an LLC to get that insurance. Like I just couldn't just get it on my own. I don't know.
Yeah, that farmers didn't require us to.
Okay.
Not farmers, Farm Bureau.
Yep.
They didn't require us to do that.
Okay.
But yeah, I
I
could
can't even imagine that Farm Bureau would insure your beef sales operation. If you want to know the truth,
Yeah. Mine is, I think.
I mean,
Liberty.
Tom and I was talking about that. He said you were with the. Yeah,
Oh no.
that's kind of a, that's gotta be, especially in this market. You know.
Yeah.
But those are all the expenses you just have to think about going into the business, having liability, having like your website expenses. We go through Shopify. If you're doing anything, like if you're taking credit cards, those are just part of the expenses you're going to have to figure out going into the business. Just you have to do it.
Yeah.
If you're going a certain level.
Well, y'all, since we've been on here 3 hours and almost 8 minutes already, I'm gonna call it a night. And we had, look here, wait a minute. One more thing. Dennis asked a question earlier. I had it starred and we didn't get the answer before he left.
He probably.
But if y'all wanna, if y'all know, I don't know one. I don't know
What do
one.
y'all think she is? I think she's a black queen.
Yeah.
She's that old German line.
I want to know where he's at that he caught a swarm 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to ask him, but he left before we could get to the question.
If they're darker, or come near being come near being a carny or Caucasian type mutt, then
We'll find
then
out
we'll
where
be
he's
if
from
they're-
in the
if
next chat, I guess.
Italians usually
Let's do
lighter.
some Facebook stalking and see if we can figure out where he's at.
May not be on Facebook.
Be my thoughts. I'd say the darker queens are usually Caucasian or Carniolan, in my experience. What little I know about it, that's very little.
Yeah.
They're probably just black queens and just black mutts.
Yeah.
It was a swarm. They're not purebred by any means.
My queens out at the farm, most of them have a black thorax and a kind of tiger striped dark coffee looking abdomen.
Yeah,
That sounds like a carny. What I'm thinking.
Is that what it is? Okay.
I think so. I had a bunch of carnies.
If it is black, they had in Ohio, they had that German line. It was, I think it was Ohio, where they were some type of German line of bees. They were black.
Yeah.
They were all black.
okay.
All black. Yeah, I think you're right.
No, no.
Maybe Virginia.
We'll find out where he's at. Got to give us something to talk about next go round.
Won't make any difference if he gave up on us answering this question and
Yeah.
cut us off anyway.
Forget you all.
All right. I appreciate everybody coming in the chat and coming in the studio. I'm going to say good night, everybody.
Those Russians, yep.
Night, everybody.
Right on.
Good night, Steve.